Chapter 1168. Slap. The crisp sound of the slap attracted everyone's attention. The protectors and onlookers widened their eyes as they stared at Chu Li in disbelief. They never thought that Chu Li would dare to slap a prince in the face, not to mention in front of so many people. Chu Li took a step back and stared at Sun Yujing, whose eyes were bloodshot and body was trembling as he glared at him. "Keep your mouth shut. If you're rude again, don't blame me for being merciless. It won't be a slap next time." "Ah!" Sun Yujing roared into the sky and charged at Chu Li in a frenzy. "Kill this ugly bastard." Chu Li went forward and slapped him again. Slap! With a crisp sound, Sun Yujing was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. 3 teeth came out from the blood. Chu Li easily dodged the protectors who were charging at him and raised his voice. "Prince, shall we enter the city? Let's enter the city." Sun Yujing shouted excitedly. Chu Li suddenly shot out 2 energy blades. The 2 elders who were attacking Elder Su and Elder Ren immediately retreated to avoid the energy blades. Elder Su and Elder Ren took the opportunity to retreat from the battle and went to Sun Yujing's side to protect him as they rushed toward the city gate. After Sun Yujing fell to the ground, the protectors dared not chase after Chu Li and the others. Instead, they surrounded Sun Yujing as they were afraid that something bad would happen to him. The 4 of them rushed into the city and rushed back to the 12th prince's residence before they could finally relax. "Ha ha!" Sun Yujing stood in front of the 12th prince's residence and laughed. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. Sun Yujing turned to look at Chu Li. "Good. That was great. Brother Zhao, you had a good time." Elder Su and Elder Ren looked at Chu Li strangely and shook their heads with smiles. They would not dare to do that even if they were given 1,000 guts. Not only did it require powerful martial arts, but it also required great courage. It was outrageous and beyond their imagination, so they could not do it. Although a prince could not be lawless and run amok in this world, he was still the emperor's son. The prince could only be taught a lesson by the emperor, and no one else could hit him. This concept was deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Chu Li's 2 slaps today were not because he was powerful, but because he had broken the invisible shackles. Chu Li smiled. "Prince, won't the emperor punish me? He was rude first, and he wasn't hurt." Sun Yujing laughed and shook his head. "He won't have the guts to complain to father. Besides, father won't care about him because he'll think that he's incompetent." Chu Li smiled and nodded. He could tell that Sun Yujing was delighted, but he could also guess that Sun Yujing would start to mutter to himself after a while. It was inevitable that Sun Yujing would feel sad for his own kind. After all, his actions had broken the customs of the world. It was disgraceful. If everyone followed his example, then these princes would not have an easy time. "Come, let's enter the residence." Sun Yujing laughed heartily. "We're going to drink to our heart's content today. We won't leave until we're drunk." Chu Li shook his head. "Your Highness, I shall take my leave now." Sun Yujing looked at him in surprise. Chu Li said, "My task has been completed. I need to report back to the mountain." "Brother Zhao, rest here for a night," Sun Yujing said. "I still have to thank you, Brother Zhao." Chu Li shook his head and smiled. "The saint will reward you. You don't have to spend money, Your Highness. I shall take my leave now." He gave a fist salute and was about to leave. Sun Yujing quickly said, "Wait." Chu Li turned to look at him. Sun Yujing hesitated for a while before he asked, "How can I contact you, Brother Zhao?" Chu Li smiled. "After I return to the mountain, I'll continue to be the branch leader of Gale Branch. You can look for me in Gale City." Sun Yujing smiled. "Let's keep in touch." Chu Li smiled and gave a fist salute before he disappeared. Sun Yuqing shook his head and sighed as he looked in the direction where he disappeared. It's a pity that I can't use such a person. Your Highness, you can ask the saint for him. Elder Su smiled. I think the saint is very nice to you. Ninth elder sister won't participate in the Battle of the Princes. Sun Yuqing shook his head. She won't ask her subordinates to help me. She made an exception this time because I'm going to Zheng Dynasty, but she won't be so lucky next time. We've gone through trials and tribulations with young Zhao. We'll be more confident when we ask him for help, Elder Su said. Everyone has a weakness. Young Zhao is young, so it'll be easier to make friends with him. I hope so. Sun Yuqing sighed. Along the way, I noticed that he doesn't have any weaknesses. He doesn't seem to be interested in women or money. Elder Rin said, maybe he likes martial arts secret manuals. What secret manuals doesn't Great Light Peak have? Sun Yuqing asked. Great Light Peak doesn't have many secret manuals from the palace's secret vault, right? Elder Rin asked. Sun Yuqing hesitated before he nodded slowly. The secret manuals from the palace's secret vault could not be leaked to outsiders, but they could not care less during critical times like this. No one would know even if they passed it to Zhao De. Think of a way to rope him in no matter what, Sun Yuqing said. Elder Su and Elder Rin nodded slowly. One Zhao De was equivalent to 100 grandmasters. This was not a lie, especially when they encountered top-notch masters. No matter how many ordinary masters there were, they would not be able to defeat one Zhao De. Great Light Peak's divine light, Basiliquin, the brightly lit basilica, Chu stood motionless and looked straight ahead. Sun Mingyue, who was dressed in a white tunic and had her face covered with a white veil, paced back and forth with her hands behind her back. From time to time, she would turn to glare at him and sneer. How impressive! Her loose white tunic could not conceal her graceful figure, and there was a unique rhythm to her gait that made her look elegant and pleasant. Chu Li looked at her without saying a word. Sun Mingyue scoffed. You're really impressive to hit a prince just like that. Chu Li said, Can I hit a prince? Don't you know the delicate relationship between the Holy Church and the imperial family? Sun Mingyue scoffed. You're only thinking about showing off and venting your anger. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? Chu Li said, he humiliated me like that. If I don't slap him twice, the entire Holy Church will become a laughingstock. I'm not an ordinary disciple of the Holy Church. I'm a branch leader. How can I allow him to humiliate me like that? You. Sun Mingyue frowned and stared at him, but she was speechless. She also knew that from Chu Li's point of view, it was reasonable to slap the sixth prince twice to show the Holy Church's prestige. However, from the perspective of a middleman, one would think that the Holy Church of Light was bold and arrogant. From the perspective of the imperial family, it was even more disgraceful. The Holy Church did not respect the imperial family at all. Chu Li said, Saint, no matter how you punish me, I'll still slap him twice the next time I encounter such a situation. He deserves a beating just because he's a prince. Shut up, Sun Mingyue scoffed. Chu Li curled his lips and said nothing. Sun Mingyue glared at him. Zhao De, I'll feel uncomfortable if you don't cause me trouble for a day. Chu Li did not say a word, but he showed an unconvinced expression. Forget it, forget it. Sun Mingyue returned to the armchair behind the table and scoffed. No matter what, you've done a great service by protecting the 12th prince this time. Your position as branch leader will be restored. Chu Li smiled. Chu Li said, It's a deal this time. Once I'm done with this mission, I'll return to Gale Branch and go into isolated cultivation. All right, Sun Mingyue said, Go to the Zheng Dynasty's mysterious pavilion. Chu Li's eyes widened. Sun Mingwe said, "Send a letter to Liang Yinga." Chu Li frowned. "The saint knows Liang Yinga?" Sun Mingwe nodded nonchalantly. Chu Li stared at her with his bright eyes, as if he was trying to read her mind from her face. Sun Mingwe frowned. "What's wrong? Is the saint related to Liang Yinga?" "You don't have to worry about that," Sun Mingwe said impatiently. "Just send a letter for me." "Why do I have to do something as trivial as sending a letter?" Chu Li said. "Anyone will do." "Your light body technique is better," Sun Mingwe said. "It's urgent." "All right." Chu Li slowly nodded. He felt uncomfortable knowing that Sun Mingwe was related to Liang Yinga, as if someone had snatched something from him. Sun Mingwe picked up a letter from the table and tossed it to him. The letter slowly landed in front of Chu Li. He caught it and glanced at it. There was nothing written on the envelope. He touched it and found that it was only a thin piece of paper. "I can't know what's written in the letter, can I?" Chu Li asked. Sun Mingwe shook her head. "No." Chu Li kept the letter. "I'll send it to him immediately, but I might not be able to return safely. I might have to fight with him again." Sun Mingwe said, "Don't be obsessed with fighting." Chu Li asked, "Is it okay to kill someone from Mysterious Pavilion?" Sun Mingwe nodded. "It's okay." Chu Li frowned as he looked at her. It seemed that Sun Mingwe had a strange relationship with Mysterious Pavilion. "Stop trying to probe." Sun Mingwe waved her hand. "Don't delay. Come back immediately." Chu Li fist saluted, left Divine Light Basilica, and went down the mountain. As he performed his light body technique, he took out the letter and used the omniscient mirror to read the words on the letter. There were only 2 words. "The time has come." Chu Li frowned as he pondered. There were only 2 words. He could not guess what it was even if he had the ability to do so. It seemed like the time they had agreed on had arrived. As for what time it was, he was at his wit's end and had no way of guessing. Were they working together to deal with the Ji dynasty or the Fu dynasty? Or was it some kind of agreement between them? In short, there were only 2 words. It was useless no matter how smart he was. Since both of them could block his prying, he could not see through them even if he wanted to. He could only beat around the bush, but it was fine as long as they were not targeting him. He quickly put aside his thoughts and immersed himself in the comprehension of the Heavenly King Palm. The Heavenly King Palm required an overweening spirit. The Heavenly King Palm was him, but it could not be unscrupulous. It needed to be in line with the Heavenly Heart. Chapter 1170. Chu Li said, "Send a reply to the saint." Liang Yinga shook his head. "Tell her that it's not the right time yet. I'll send her a letter when the time is right." Chu Li said, "If there's no token as proof, you can either write a reply or give me a token." Liang Yinga stared at him and said, "There's no need." Chu Li narrowed his eyes and sized him up. Liang Yinga stared back at him without saying a word. Their gazes met in the air, and it was as if the shadows of swords and blades were shooting out. Both of them revealed dense killing intent, and they could see each other's thoughts. They both wanted to kill the other, but one couldn't kill the other, and the other didn't have the confidence. After a while, Chu Li said, "It seems like you don't respect the saint. You're just a messenger. Don't forget your duty." Liang Yinga said, "It's not your place to interfere between the saint and me. Just go back." Chu Li frowned at him. "You're too lazy to write a letter." "Humph." Liang Yinga sneered. "Stop pestering me. I won't write a reply today. Just give up." Chu Li said coldly, "So you're deliberately making things difficult for me." "It's good that you understand," Liang Yinga said coldly. Chu Li said, "Then we'll talk after we fight." He flashed and appeared behind Liang Yinga, then waved both his hands. TSS, 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 TSS. His hands turned into a blurry shadow as he waved them twice. For energy blades shrouded Liang Inge. Liang Inge's body technique was fast, and his senses were sharp. The light blades hit his shadow, but he had already appeared behind Chu Li and pressed his 9 kills palm silently. Chu Li suddenly disappeared and reappeared behind him. Liang Inge disappeared too. Both of their movement techniques were peerlessly swift, and they were unpredictable like ghosts. Chu Li had God's limbs, and Liang Inge had a similar body technique. Their speed was faster than one's reaction speed, so they were evenly matched. Chu Li was certain that his God's limbs could defeat Liang Inge from a distance, but he had no advantage in such a close distance. They were in a stalemate for a while. His body moved like a pung, changing between real and fake. In the blink of an eye, the two of them exchanged over 20 moves, but neither of them could do anything to the other. Chu Li did not panic. Instead, he activated the omniscient mirror and the nature restoration manifestation to observe patiently. 30 moves later, he shot 2 blades of energy into the void. Then, 2 more blades of energy shot into the void. Then, there were 2 real sabers. 3 consecutive shots were fired into the empty void where there was no one. Swoosh! For the last time, Liang Inge's figure appeared, and his chest was stabbed twice. He shook it lightly, and the shiny flying knife fell to the ground. There were 2 holes in Liang Inge's green robe, but the flying dagger did not manage to pierce through as it was blocked by his treasure robe. His treasured clothing was extremely powerful. Based on Chu Li's cultivation level and the power of his light blade, it was not impossible for the treasured clothing to be pierced through. Even if it could not, it was enough to injure him. Liang Inge's expression did not change. He was not injured, and the power of the 2 flying daggers could not hurt him. What a light blade! Liang Inge frowned as he looked at Chu Li. Zhao Dai's light blade was not powerful because it was fast, but because he could see the first move. He could shoot it 1 step ahead, and there was no way to avoid it. Under such circumstances, only the treasured clothing could do it. Martial arts could not deal with him. Chu Li scoffed. "What treasured clothing are you wearing?" Liang Inge said, "The treasured clothing has no name. As long as I have the treasured clothing, you can't do anything to me." "Zhao Dai, be careful." Chu Li said, "Relying on the treasured clothing to protect yourself, the dignified, mysterious pavilion is really pitiful. The treasured clothing is also a kind of strength." Liang Inge revealed a proud expression. "The pavilion masters of Mysterious Pavilion have treasured clothing to protect themselves. A powerless person like you can't understand the beauty of power. It's better for you to go back as soon as possible. It's boring to continue fighting." He cast a sidelong glance at Chu Li with a look of disdain. Chu Li scoffed. "There's no treasured clothing in this world that can't be pierced through. I'll look for a treasure knife when I go back." Liang Inge narrowed his eyes. He had to be careful. If he could really find a treasure knife that was sharp enough to pierce through the treasured clothing, Zhao Dai would be too dangerous. It seemed that he had to get rid of him as soon as possible. As he thought of this, he became more eager to cultivate. He waved his hand and said, "Please." Chu Li said, "Reply." He could tell what Liang Inge was thinking. He could not wait for Chu Li to leave so that he could cultivate. Liang Inge frowned and thought for a while. He scoffed and took out a letter from his bosom and threw it to Chu Li. "Take it back." Chu Li glanced at it and saw that there were only 3 words written in the letter. "It's not time yet." He kept the letter with satisfaction and waved his hand. "We'll meet again." Liang Inge sneered at him. "The next time we meet, I'll kill you. Same to you." Chu Li smiled and floated away as if he was riding the wind. Liang Inge fiercely stomped his foot, causing the boulder to tremble slightly. After releasing his killing intent, Liang Inge felt more comfortable. His gloominess dissipated, and he continued to cultivate. Chu Li floated away and exhaled a mouthful of foul air. He was also very depressed. Liang Inge was so difficult to kill as if he was a porcupine. It was really hateful. Chu Li had an inexplicable hostility and killing intent toward Liang Inge. Chapter 1171. Then why are we still working with him? Chu Li scoffed. We have to get back at him. Sun Mingyue said, he plotted against us, so we have to plot against him. However, we and Mysterious Pavilion both want to kill King Ping, so we have a higher chance of success if we work together. From what I know, once the prince is killed, his father will take action. Chu Li said, I don't think anyone can withstand the might of an enlightened master, right? Yes, Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li was shocked. A master who is going to die. Sun Mingyue nodded slowly. Chu Li said, Saint, you won't choose me, right? I haven't lived long enough. Sun Mingyue stared at him. Chu Li refused to back down and stared at her. He stared straight into her clear and beautiful eyes, and his heart kept sinking into her beautiful eyes. Fortunately, he had the omniscient mirror to stabilize his mind and prevent himself from being captivated by her, so he did not completely fall for her. Chu Li said, Saint, I don't want to go to the realm of light now. Don't worry, I won't choose you, but you're indeed a suitable candidate. Sun Mingyue looked at him thoughtfully. Chu Li said, I still want to be a patrol, an altar leader, and a priest. You're ambitious. Sun Mingyue chuckled. But you don't follow the rules, so it'll be difficult for you to become a priest. I'll take it slow, Chu Li said, as long as I make enough contributions. Sun Mingyue said, That's true. In the Holy Church of Light, martial arts and meritorious deeds were the most important. With enough martial arts and meritorious deeds, one could eventually be promoted to become a priest. Chu Li asked, Who will be sent to kill King Ping? You don't have to worry about that, Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li said, The Ji dynasty's crown prince has been appointed. So King Ping won't be able to control the military anymore. He's no longer a threat, so why send someone to die? Sun Mingyue shook her head. Once the crown prince becomes the emperor, King Ping will continue to control the military. Chu Li scoffed. The Fu dynasty is the strongest, and the other 4 countries are just puppets. Whether it's war or peace, they're all under the Fu dynasty's control. No matter how strong the Li dynasty is, they can't destroy the Ji dynasty. The Fu dynasty won't agree. Sun Mingyue looked at him in surprise. You've improved a lot. Only the royal family and the upper echelons of the top sex could see through this. Chu Li said, I only have one thought now, and that is to master my martial arts so that I can roam the world without any restrictions. As for fighting in the army, it's like child's play. It's not even worth mentioning. Your thinking is too extreme. The army is still very important. Sun Mingyue said, The Fu dynasty is everywhere, but sometimes it's not necessarily useful. Besides, without a strong army, we'll really become the Fu dynasty's puppet. Moreover, he could borrow the power of the Holy Church of Light for his own use at crucial times. His goal now was to become an enlightened master. It was difficult to become an enlightened master by himself. He could borrow the power of the Holy Church of Light, Heavenly Demonic Sect, or even Goddess Attraction Mountain. This was the only way he could become an enlightened master. The pavilion leader of Mysterious Pavilion, Liang Inge, is a powerful person. Chu Li pondered. I originally planned to destroy Mysterious Pavilion and help King Ping take revenge. It seems like it won't be that easy. I can't defeat Liang Inge, I've heard of him. Xiaoshu said, he's indeed a genius. Don't worry, your cultivation speed is much faster than his. Li shook his head. He could see that Liang Yinge was also improving rapidly and would soon surpass him. However, he did not make any progress. Li began to relax as he chatted with them. He was at ease and continued to comprehend the state of mind of Heavenly King Palm. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and a strange mentality emerged. It was as if he had become one with heaven and earth. He was the heaven, and the heaven was him. He looked down on all things and saw through them. Everything in the world was like floating clouds. Everything was in the palm of his hand, and everything was under his control. The channeling route of Heavenly King Palm suddenly became smooth. A wave of spiritual energy appeared out of thin air and circled along this route. It formed a unique and strange force that fell into his dantian. This force was strange. It was like a small whirlpool that kept devouring the inner energy in his dantian. The devouring speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the inner energy in his dantian had been devoured. The devouring speed was getting faster and faster. Li moved and suddenly let the surrounding spiritual energy surge into his dantian. It was then devoured by this force and transformed into the force of Heavenly King Palm without any hindrance. He stopped the life and death scripture. The force of Heavenly King Palm was still devouring the surrounding spiritual energy. Li suddenly realized that Heavenly King Palm cultivated the spiritual energy of heaven and earth instead of inner energy. Chapter 1172. Li suddenly struck with his palm. Bang! A muffled sound was heard as a pit was blasted open on the ground. Li was surprised. It was just a light palm of his, and he did not use much strength, but it was so powerful. After the palm force left his palm, it seemed to be absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy at an incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, its power was enhanced. The palm force was also strange, as if it was an explosive. Li let out a smile, but then he sighed. Unfortunately, the Heavenly King Palm was not suitable to be used now. Using it in a place lacking in spiritual energy was like a dragon swimming in shallow water. The spiritual energy in the 100,000 hills where he was now was comparable to ancient times. After the palm force of the Heavenly King Palm left his body, it would absorb the surrounding spiritual energy to enhance his power. However, if he left the 100,000 hills, the spiritual energy absorbed by the palm force would not be as dense, and the power would naturally be weaker. The power of the Heavenly King Palm was based on this unique palm force. Without the dense spiritual energy, the power would be reduced and could not reach the awe-inspiring and intimidating power of ancient times. Xiaoqi asked, "You've mastered it?" Li sighed. It was a waste of time. It's not suitable to be used outside. What happened? Xiaoshu asked curiously. The two women were dressed in white. Their jade-like hands were dyed green, and the fruits they picked were rich in sap. Li explained the Heavenly King Palm to them. Xiaoqi frowned and shook her head. It could not be helped. There were too many ancient antique studies that had been eliminated. The Heavenly King Palm was not a bad choice. Xiaoshu smiled. It's good to use it here. Didn't you want to see the spirit tiger? Li smiled and nodded. That's true. Xiaoshu's words comforted him. He wanted to cultivate to become an enlightened master and become a god in the 100,000 hills. The 100,000 hills was the key. If he had the Heavenly King Palm to deal with the spirit beasts, it would be easier. He was only at the beginner level of the Heavenly King Palm. If he wanted to master it, he would need to continue cultivating. Xiaoshu asked, "With this, can you defeat Liang Yinge?" Li shook his head. Is that guy so difficult to deal with? He's been hiding his strength. The martial arts he displayed were only at the 6th or 7th level. Chu Li said, I'm not as good as his endurance. He's a strong opponent. If you can't deal with him, can't you fulfill King Ping's condition? Xiao Shi frowned. Chu Li smiled and said, Don't worry, I can win over King Ping. However, it's still too early to deal with Su Wan, so there's no need to rush. There's still 10 years left. That's true, Xiao Shi smiled. Xiao Qi gently struck Chu Li with her palm. Chu Li knew what she was trying to do, so he struck out with the heavenly king palm. Bang! A loud explosion was heard from the center of their palms. A strong gust of wind surged, sweeping the soil and withered grass on the ground to both sides. It was as if a violent gale had blown past, instantly pushing Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi away. Xiao Qi quickly reached out to hold Xiao Shi and looked at Chu Li in surprise. Chu Li smiled. Did you see its power? Amazing! Xiao Qi exclaimed. Of course, she knew that Chu Li's internal energy was on par with hers, but the result was like this. She could not even withstand a single blow. The palm energy of the heavenly king palm was indeed powerful. It's so powerful. Although its power has been weakened, it's still very powerful, right? Xiao Shi asked. Chu Li pondered for a moment. We can go back and give it a try. Let's go back. Xiao Shi said hurriedly. She took the basket and placed the fruits in it. She could not wait to go back. Chu Li held the two women in his arms and disappeared from Spirit Crane's peak. He appeared in his courtyard. Xiao Qi launched another palm attack. Chu Li met it with the heavenly king palm. Bang! A muffled sound was heard, and a strong gust of wind surged between the two. Xiao Qi took a step back and shook her head. Compared to the previous power, it was a world of difference, although it was still slightly stronger than a normal palm energy. Looks like it can only be used over there. Xiao Qi shook her head. Xiao Shi frowned. The spiritual energy here is already very rich. If it's outside, it'll be worse. Chu Li's courtyard was planted with the Glories Will tree, so the spiritual energy was a few times richer than usual. The air was fresh, and the progress of martial arts cultivation was also 2 to 3 times faster. The palm energy of the heavenly king palm was far better here than outside. Looks like it can't be used anymore, Chu Li said. Xiao Qi said, Let's find another one. Xiao Shi frowned. Is there really no other way? Can we change the heart technique? Chu Li shook his head. He still did not understand the mystery of the heavenly king palm and why it was so powerful. It should be based on the characteristics of spiritual energy. After all, spiritual energy and inner energy were different. As for how they were different, no one knew. Although Chu Li had the omniscient mirror, he did not understand the difference. However, he was ready to study it. With the omniscient mirror, he had an advantage over others. He might be able to understand the mystery and modify the heavenly king palm, turning it into a palm technique that was more suitable for this era. Xiao Qi said, The situation in the court has changed. The crown prince is starting to supervise the country. He's starting so early? Chu Li frowned. The crown prince supervising the country was equivalent to the crown prince carrying out the duties of the emperor. He would decide everything in the court and only consult the emperor on important matters. The crown prince's authority was at the peak. Xiao Qi said, Looks like the emperor is determined to help King Jing ascend the throne. What's the big move in the court? Chu Li asked. The crown prince is making a bold move to reorganize the court. Xiao Qi frowned. He took down many officials, including those who were corrupt. A new emperor brings his own courtiers. He's already starting to train his own team. Chu Li sighed. In the court, which official did not take bribes? These officials who were removed from their positions did not do so because of corruption. It was nothing more than a failure in the political struggle, which was why they ended up like that. That's right. Xiaoshu frowned. In this case, even if Suan returns in the future, he won't be able to stand firm in the court. The entire court was filled with the crown prince's people. Once Suan entered the court, he would not be able to move an inch and would be ostracized. It would be difficult for him to achieve anything, and the throne would be far away. Does King An have any confidence in the court? Chu Li asked. Xiaoshu shook her head. His position is too low. He's not qualified enough. Moreover, everyone recognizes King Jing. Even if he has confidence, he won't come back seeing that we're orphans and widows. Chu Li nodded thoughtfully. Head Chief Chu Li of King An's imperial residence, come and fight. Suddenly a shout shook the sky. Chu Li frowned and scoffed. Lu Guangdi, did he come out of isolated cultivation? Xiao Qi frowned. Chu Li scoffed. Looks like he did. Through the omniscient mirror, he saw Lu Guangdi standing in front of the main entrance of the imperial residence. He was dressed in a blue tunic. His eyes sparkled like jewels, and his face was as warm as a piece of white jade. It was obvious that his cultivation level had improved greatly. Xiao Qi said, "We have to be careful." When she heard Lu Guangdi's voice, her vigor vibrated. It contained an overbearing inner energy that was far stronger than before. This Lu Guangdi was also amazing. In such a short time, his martial arts had improved greatly. He had improved so much compared to before, it was as if he was a different person. Chapter 1173. Bam Bam. Lu Guangdi suddenly attacked. In a flash, he rushed forward and sent the protectors on both sides of the stone lions flying. Chu Li frowned, and his expression darkened. Lu Guangdi was purely venting his anger and slapping King An's imperial residence in the face. It seemed that Lu Guangdi was confident that he could defeat him, which was why he was so fearless. He then frowned and saw Lu Yurong standing not far away. Lu Yurong was dressed in a white tunic with a white veil covering her face. She was calmly watching Lu Guangdi's display of power. She did not comment, as if she was not involved, and was purely watching the show. Did Lu Yurong not return to the public house? Why did she return to Fairy's capital? As he thought of this, he calmly said, "Lu Guangdi, come in." His voice traveled far and seemed to ring in Lu Guangdi and Lu Yurong's ears. Lu Guangdi frowned. Hearing Chu Li's voice, Chu Li's inner energy had become richer. It had improved since the last time they met. It seemed like it would not be easy to defeat him. He had to be careful not to fail miserably. As he thought of this, he turned to look at Lu Yurong and smiled. Miss Lu, shall we go in?" Lu Yurong replied, "What do you think?" "I think we won't go in." Lu Guangdi chuckled. "Why should we listen to him? If he comes out, he'll embarrass himself in front of everyone." Lu Yurong smiled, but did not deny it. Lu Guangdi raised his voice and shouted, "Chu, come out. Don't be afraid of embarrassing yourself. It's your honor to be defeated by me." Xiaoshu scoffed. "Is this guy crazy?" Lu Guangdi was too arrogant. It seemed like no one had ever dared to be this arrogant in front of Chu Li. After all, a person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Chu Li's status as the youth's number one had already been established, so anyone who stood in front of him would feel pressured. Lu Guangdi was arrogant the last time, but it was nothing compared to this time. Judging from his tone, he would definitely defeat Chu Li. Chu Li said, "It seems like his martial arts has improved greatly. Let's go and see how powerful he is." Xiao Qi whispered, "Can you defeat him?" "We'll know after we fight." Chu Li shook his head and smiled. "He's still quite powerful. Then why take the risk?" Xiao Qi asked. Chu Li said, if I don't beat him into submission, he'll keep pestering me. He still remembered the deal he made with Lu Yurong, which was to chase Lu Guangdi out of Fairy's capital. It seemed like Lu Guangdi's skin was as thick as a wall, so it would not be easy to chase him out of Fairy's capital. It would require a strong provocation. Thinking of this, he slowly walked out of the room. Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi followed suit. Lu Guangdi stood at the bottom of the stairs leading to the main entrance and laughed coldly. Chu Li, are you afraid now? You're acting like a coward. Haha, what #1 youth expert? What a joke. Chu Li's voice rang out. Don't worry, I'll be right there. The door slowly opened as he brought Xiao Qi and Xiao Shi over the threshold. He glanced at Lu Guangdi and Lu Yurong, who were at the bottom of the stairs, then looked at the two protectors who were lying on the ground. Chu Li walked towards the two protectors and lowered his head to look at them. Are you all right? The two of them remained motionless, their eyes filled with resentment. Chu Li gently patted them twice, and the two of them instantly regained their mobility. They bounced up from the ground and glared fiercely at Lu Guangdi. Chu Li said, you two go back first. Head chief. The two of them looked ashamed. The two of them had embarrassed King En's imperial residence. They were defeated so easily by this guy, it made it seem like King En's imperial residence was useless. Chu Li waved his hand. He's not someone you can handle. It's not your fault. Go back and rest. Yes. The two of them helplessly saluted and glared at Lu Guangdi before entering the imperial residence. Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. Chu Li, you're quite good at winning people's hearts. However, these are just small tricks. Martial arts is the most important thing. Chu Li said, you have a bad temper. Tell me, why are you looking for me? Humph, people of high status tend to have short memories. Did you forget what I said last time? Lu Guangdi cast a sidelong glance at him and laughed coldly. I just came out of isolated cultivation to teach you a lesson. Chu Li smiled and looked at Lu Yurong. Miss Lu, are you here to watch the show too? Of course, I want to watch the show. Lu Yurong smiled faintly. Chu Li scoffed. I really don't want to talk to an idiot like him, nor do I want to fight him. Humph, idiot. Lu Guangdi's handsome face instantly darkened as he glared at him. You're the only smart person in the world. Everyone else is an idiot, but you're the most idiotic one. Chu Li said, what kind of divine technique did you cultivate in isolated cultivation? Your martial arts has improved by leaps and bounds. Humph, speaking of which, I should thank you. Lu Guangdi cast a sidelong glance at him and laughed coldly. Thanks to your provocation, I was able to steal my heart and cultivate to the next level. From there, my martial arts has improved by leaps and bounds, allowing me to surpass you. Chu Li said, it's a blessing that I still have such a contribution. However, if you think you can surpass me with your martial arts, you're dreaming. You should go back and cultivate more so that you don't embarrass yourself. You're still boasting at this point? How stubborn. Lu Guangdi said disdainfully. Come, let me have a taste of your martial arts. Chu Li shook his head. I don't fight people for no reason. You're scared. Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. Chu Li said, how about this? Let's add some stakes. What stakes? Lu Guangdi scoffed. Chu Li said, whoever loses will be kicked out of Fairy's capital and will never be able to step into Fairy's capital again. How cruel. Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. You think this little stake is enough to scare me? Chu Li calmly asked. Do you agree or not? No problem. Lu Guangdi scoffed. I'd like to see how a head chief like you can't even enter Fairy's capital. Chu Li said, then let Miss Lu be the witness. No problem, Lu Yurong said. Shao Qi and Shao Shi looked at him and shook their heads helplessly. Seeing their reaction, Lu Guangdi became even more pleased as he chuckled nonstop. He could not wait to see Chu Li's painful expression. If he lost, he would not be able to enter Fairy's capital, and his position as head chief would be crippled. Chu Li would definitely be in extreme pain. Chu Li stretched out his hand. "Let's do it!" Lu Guangdi suddenly struck out with his palm. His movement was gentle, but it sounded like the sound of waves crashing against the shore. The air in front of him distorted as an invisible force pressed against Chu Li. It was everywhere, and there was no way to avoid it. TSS. The sword at Chu Li's waist suddenly lit up and pierced through the palm energy. The tip of the sword instantly arrived in front of Lu Guangdi. Lu Guangdi's body swayed as he dodged the attack and struck out with his palm again. The tip of Chu Li's sword suddenly sped up so fast that it became a blur. The next time it appeared, it had already pierced through Lu Guangdi's palm. Chu Li sheathed his sword and glanced at him. "You don't seem to have improved much." Lu Guangdi's palm was pierced through and was bleeding profusely. He stared at Chu Li in disbelief. He was full of confidence. He originally thought that it was a game of cat and mouse. He wanted to torture Chu Li before crippling him. Chapter 1174. After Chu Li sheathed his sword, he calmly said, "Lu Guangdi, is this all you've got?" He was a little disappointed. Lu Guangdi's cultivation level had increased, but he did not expect it to be just a facade. He could not unleash his full potential. His techniques were not more refined, and his speed was not faster. In this way, under Chu Li's powerful sword technique, it was no different from the previous match. He could not even withstand a single blow. He shook his head in disappointment. "You're too impatient. Even if you've improved your skills after isolated cultivation, you should have trained more before coming to me. What a pity." "Shut up," Lu Guangdi shouted angrily. He also realized his own recklessness and impetuousness. He clearly had a deep inner energy, but he could not unleash it. He was injured because his techniques were not refined enough, which made him extremely angry. Chu Li then added fuel to the fire, which made him even angrier and redder. He said in a low voice, "Chu Li, you do have some skills." Chu Li smiled. "Thank you for the compliment, but that's not all you've got. Watch my fist." Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth and punched out with his left fist. Roar! It was like a ferocious tiger coming down the mountain. The tiger's roar shook everyone's soul. The surrounding onlookers could not help but cover their ears as their hearts were shaken. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. This fist force was a little strange. An invisible fist force instantly hit the tip of Chu Li's sword. Ding! Like the sound of metal colliding. Chu Li's long sword was swung up, but it was hit by the fist force. This force was as solid as a rock. Chu Li was shocked. What a good fist technique. Lu Guangdi was getting more and more furious as his killing intent surged. Previously, he only wanted to cripple Chu Li, but now he wanted to kill him. Chu Li could feel his killing intent. Lu Yurong frowned. She also felt Lu Guangdi's surging killing intent and secretly shook her head. This Lu Guangdi was too narrow-minded and could easily ruin things. It was better not to keep him around, or else he would only cause trouble for the crown prince. She then sighed. The world already belonged to the crown prince, so it was not a big deal to stir up some trouble. No one could threaten the crown prince's position, not even King Ping. The crown prince's ascension to the throne was a clear and unmistakable expression of the emperor's thoughts. No one would go against the emperor's decree. All of a sudden, Lu Guangdi's figure grew taller, and his movements became nimble and agile. Then he threw another punch, followed by a series of consecutive punches. The tip of Chu Li's sword pierced through the fist force one by one, and the blade of the sword emitted a ding-ding sound from time to time. The two of them seemed to have fallen into a stalemate. Lu Guangdi activated his secret skill, causing his dense inner energy to become stronger and stronger. In the end, he still could not suppress Chu Li. Roar! Suddenly, there was a roar that sounded like the cry of a ferocious tiger. The fist force turned into a stream of light and shot towards Chu Li's chest. Chu Li disappeared from where he stood in a flash. The fist force had only hit his shadow, but the people who were 100 feet away could not help but retreat as if they had been hit by someone. Lu Guangdi suddenly swung his arm without making a sound. Ding ding! Chu Li swung his sword and parried the two needles. Although the needles were so thin that they could not be seen, they contained a powerful force that was astonishing. Lu Guangdi felt a sense of helplessness. The crouching tiger palm from before was shockingly powerful. If Chu Li was caught off guard, he would definitely be injured if he were to take it head-on. The crouching tiger palm relied on its sinister palm energy, but he did not expect Chu Li to dodge it so easily. Those two soul-tracking needles were even more vicious. They were silent and incredibly fast. If one did not know what was going on, it would be difficult to dodge them. Chu Li easily parried them again. It was as if he knew Lu Guangdi's technique and was prepared in advance. These two ultimate skills did not seem to work, and Lu Guangdi had also activated his secret skill. Lu Guangdi was at his wit's end. This Chu Li did not seem to be much stronger than him, but he was unusually tenacious. No matter how hard Lu Guangdi tried, Chu Li easily nullified his attacks. It was truly hopeless. Xiao said to Shao Qi, "He's only SOSO, and here I thought he had some skills." He scared Chu Li. Shao Qi said, "His martial arts are not bad." From her perspective, Lu Guangdi's inner energy was deep, but he was lacking in his techniques. He had a body full of inner energy, but he could not unleash its full power. Xiao pouted and shook her head. Lu Guangdi clearly heard the two women's conversation. He turned around and suddenly shot a soul-tracking needle at the two women. The soul-tracking needle was silent. Shao Qi sensed danger and quickly swung her sword. Ding ding! Two crisp sounds were heard. The soul-tracking needle was parried. If it was not for Shao Qi's deep cultivation and sharp senses, she might not have been able to block these two needles. Ah! Lu Guangdi roared in anger. It was fine if Chu Li could dodge the soul-tracking needle. After all, the two of them were fighting and were on high alert. However, this Shao Qi could also dodge it. This was ridiculous. Lu Guangdi's anger made him lose his mind. He vented all his anger and despair on Xiao. He suddenly rushed towards Xiao and pushed out both of his palms. It was like a raging wave that instantly surged towards Xiao. Chu Li appeared in front of Xiao in a flash and pulled her out of the range of his palm energy. Then he disappeared again and reappeared behind Lu Guangdi. His sword pierced through Lu Guangdi's dantian. Chu Li's current movement was fused with the body technique he saw from Sun Yuqing. It was even more unpredictable and fast. It was impossible to defend against. Ugh! Lu Guangdi turned his head and stared at him in disbelief. Chu Li coldly said, "Don't forget the bet. Get out of Fairy's capital tomorrow." He turned to look at Lu Yurong. "Miss Lu, what's the use of this guy's martial arts? His Highness, the Crown Prince, should keep his eyes open. Don't recruit just anyone and ruin his reputation." As soon as he said that, he turned and left. Shao Qi and Xiao followed him in. The gates of the imperial residence were closed. Everyone looked at Lu Guangdi, who was lying on the ground, and shook their heads. Another guy who was blinded by fame. He wanted to make a name for himself with one battle and treated head chief Chu Li as a stepping stone. Unfortunately, Chu Li was not a stepping stone. Not just anyone could step on him. This guy was making an example out of Lu Guangdi. Lu Yurong walked in front of Lu Guangdi and sighed. Let's go back. Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth and stared at her coldly. Lu Yurong frowned. You don't want to go back. Just leave Fairy's capital. Humph. Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth. Back to the Crown Prince's residence. That's it, Lu Yurong calmly said. She waved her hand, and 2 protectors from the Crown Prince's residence came over to help Lu Guangdi up. Everyone returned to the Crown Prince's residence. After dinner, a servant girl came to Lu Yurong's courtyard. She left the courtyard and went to the backyard. She saw the original King Jing, who was now the Crown Prince, Lung Jinghua. Uncle-in-law, Lu Yurong fist saluted and entered the pagoda to sit at the stone table. Lung Jinghua frowned and sighed. You followed him? Lu Yurong knew what he was asking about. She nodded. Yes, young Master Lu insisted that I go as a witness. I didn't expect him to be no match for Chu Li even after his cultivation increased. You didn't expect that. Lung Jinghua scoffed. He was dressed in a bright yellow robe and looked extremely noble. Lu Yurong embarrassedly said, I didn't think much of him, but I couldn't stop him from being so confident. Also, uncle-in-law, you gave him a lot of power, so I couldn't stop him. I could only follow and watch. Don't let Chu Li kill him. It's no different from killing him, Lung Jinghua coldly said. Lu Yurong said, Green Deer Cliff has primary heaven pills. It's easy to recover one's martial arts. If primary heaven pills were that easy to obtain, I wouldn't be running out of primary heaven pills. Lung Jinghua said, I heard that the spirit medicine used to make primary heaven pills is almost extinct. Every time you use one, you'll have one less. What do you mean, uncle-in-law? Lu Yurong asked. Chapter 1175. Lu Yurong was startled, then smiled. Uncle-in-law, are you trying to teach him a lesson? What do you think? Lung Jinghua asked. Lu Yurong quickly nodded and said, That's great. However, he is the head chief of King An's imperial residence. If we were to deal with him, it would be hard to avoid implicating King An. It would make people think that we are bullying an orphan and a widow, which would tarnish our reputation. She had long wanted to take Chu Li down a notch. She had never been able to gain any advantage from him, and this feeling was very annoying. Now that there was a chance, she would cause him some trouble. Her heart was filled with joy, and she was eager to try. Yes, Lung Jinghua pondered and nodded. Let's not talk about him for now. What about Lu Guangdi? What do you mean, uncle-in-law? Lu Yurong asked. You want him to stay? Lung Jinghua muttered. His father is an important figure. Which elder is it? Lu Yurong said. To be so highly regarded by uncle-in-law, it must not be an ordinary elder, right? Green Deer Cliff had a disciple who left the mountain more than 100 years ago. Lung Jinghua said, You might not have heard of him. Uncle-in-law, are you talking about Lu Zhengjun? Lung Jinghua chuckled. You really know? I've heard of Lu Zhengjun. Lu Yurong shook her head and said, I just didn't expect Lu Guangdi's father to be him. No wonder he's such a talented genius. It's a pity that he doesn't have the temperament to achieve anything great. Lung Jinghua nodded. It's rare for him to be able to cultivate to such a level in the Tide Listening Pavilion, but he lacks experience. Moreover, he's the only one in the Tide Listening Pavilion, so it's inevitable that he's arrogant. Uncle-in-law, it'll be difficult for you to rope in Lu Zhengjun. Lu Yurong frowned and said, He is extremely arrogant, and will never rely on the court. Moreover, he is eccentric and unpredictable. It will be troublesome to rope him in. Lung Jinghua said, Green Deer Cliff has a rich heritage. If we can rope them in, we can suppress the Tempest Temple. The Tempest Temple was the knot and sore point of every emperor. They had always tried their best to attack the Tempest Temple and weaken it. I'm just afraid that Green Deer Cliff might not dare to go against the Tempest Temple. Lu Yurong shook her head. I'm afraid uncle-in-law's plan won't work. Right now, Lu Guangdi has made a bet with Chu Li in front of so many people. The loser will have to leave Fairy's capital forever. I forcefully ordered Lu Guangdi to stay as a protector of the public house. He can't possibly refuse, right? Lung Jinghua scoffed. Chu Li has nothing to say. I'm just afraid that other people will talk about it. Lu Yurong sighed. Of course, she could not wait for Lu Guangdi to leave so that he would not be an eyesore in front of her. However, when she heard that Lu Guangdi's father was Lu Zhengjun, she knew that it would be difficult for her to get what she wanted. Lu Zhengjun's status was too important. 100 years ago, Lu Zhengjun was just like Chu Li now. He was in the limelight for a while, and he was faintly regarded as the youth champion. Unfortunately, at the last moment, he was defeated by a young disciple of the Great Lane Temple and lost the chance to become a heavenly god. Thus, he retreated into the forest. She did not expect Lu Zhengjun to have an illegitimate son despite looking like he had retired to the mountains and was disheartened. Lung Jinghua said, We can't care about what other people say now. As long as we rope in Lu Zhengjun, we won't have to worry about him not attacking the Tempest Temple. Lu Yurong nodded lightly. Lu Zhengjun and the Tempest Temple were like fire and water. He must hate the Tempest Temple to the core. After all, they took away his chance to become an enlightened master. His hatred for them was deeper than killing his father. If there was a chance to cause trouble for the Tempest Temple, Lu Zhengjun would not let it go. Lung Jinghua said, As for Chu Li, go talk to him. Tell him to stop being so stubborn. Uncle-in-law, Lu Yurong said, There's no need to ask for trouble. It's useless even if you talk to him. He'll definitely not agree. He won't give me any face. Lung Jinghua frowned. Lu Yurong said, Uncle-in-law, don't forget how he was sent to the imperial mausoleum. If he dared to disobey the emperor's order, what more the crown prince? He. Lung Jinghua laughed and shook his head. He's not afraid of power. It's rare to see someone who dares to do something like that. Lu Yurong asked, Uncle-in-law, how are you going to deal with him? I don't have to do anything. Lung Jinghua said, Someone else will teach him a lesson. Lu Zhengjun? Lung Jinghua slowly said, Lu Zhengjun is proud and arrogant. No matter how useless his son is, he won't let anyone teach him a lesson. He'll definitely teach Chu Li a lesson. Lu Yurong hesitated. I'm just afraid that Lu Zhengjun won't get what he wants. Lung Jinghua looked at her. Lu Yurong said, Chu Li's current cultivation level is unfathomable. Lu Guangdi's cultivation level has become extremely powerful after he came out of isolated cultivation. He's even more powerful than me. However, he can't even withstand a single blow from Chu Li, Lung Jinghua said in a low voice. Chu Li is powerful. After all, he's only been cultivating for a short period of time. Lu Zhengjun was already a top-notch master 100 years ago. Lu Yurong did not refute him. She realized that her uncle-in-law's temperament had changed ever since he inherited the crown prince's position. He no longer listened to unpleasant words. Lu Yurong used to insist on her own opinion, but not anymore. Lung Jinghua said, The one who's going to deal with Chu Li isn't Lu Zhengjun. Lu Guangdi would have been able to hold his head high, and Lu Zhengjun would have been able to acknowledge him. Your martial arts are now crippled without the primary heaven pill. It won't be easy for you to recover. Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows and remained silent. Now that his martial arts were crippled, his spine was broken as well. He had lost all confidence. Lu Yurong calmly said, "Green Deer Cliff has the primary heaven pill that can help you recover your martial arts." Back then, King and managed to recover his martial arts after obtaining a primary heaven pill. As for you, now is not the time to be angry. Ask Senior Lu for a primary heaven pill, then obtain a mystical technique. After that, you can seek revenge on Chu Li. Otherwise, you'll never be able to catch up to Chu Li in this lifetime. You'll just have to watch him walk with his head held high. Lu Guangdi had a conflicted expression on his face. Lu Yurong scoffed. At a time like this, you're still thinking about your pitiful pride? You and Senior Lu are father and son. No matter what, you can't change that. Both of you have the same blood flowing in your veins. Why are you still talking about pride and face with him? Lu Guangdi shook his head. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Lu Yurong calmly said, "All right, then you should return to Tide Listening Pavilion and recover your martial arts. It'll take at least 2 years for your martial arts to recover, right? You should know that Chu Li has only been cultivating for 2 years. In 2 years, he went from a normal person who didn't know any martial arts to what he is now. What will he become in another 2 years?" Lu Guangdi frowned and remained silent. Lung Jinghua sighed and gently said, "Forget it, Yurong, don't force young Lu. If he doesn't want to find Senior Lu, then forget it." Lu Yurong said, "All right, since he wants to recover his martial arts, there's no difference between staying in Fairy's capital and Tide Listening Pavilion. Tide Listening Pavilion is quieter. It'll be better for him to focus on his cultivation." Lu Guangdi frowned. "Miss Lu, are you chasing me away? Do you have the cheek to stay?" Lu Yurong scoffed. "The Crown Prince's residence doesn't support idlers." "Yurong," Lung Jinghua hurriedly said, "don't be so harsh. Young Lu, just focus on recuperating and recovering your martial arts. You don't have to worry about anything else." "Your Highness," Lu Guangdi cupped his fists in gratitude. The harsher Lu Yurong was, the more magnanimous Lung Jinghua seemed. This moved Lu Guangdi even more. He had an extreme personality, but he was still spoiled in Tide Listening Pavilion. His thoughts were not complicated enough, and he was easily deceived. "Young Lu, I'll help you find some spirit pills. Even if I can't find something like the primary heaven pill, it'll still be beneficial." Lung Jinghua gently said, "Even if I can't find it, I'll try to shorten the time it takes for you to recover your martial arts." "Thank you, Your Highness." Lu Guangdi cupped his fists in gratitude. He wanted to go through a mountain of blades and a sea of fire to repay Lung Jinghua's kindness. Lung Jinghua waved his hand and smiled. "You're a high official that I invited. It's only natural. Go back and rest." "Yes," Lu Guangdi replied. As she watched him leave the backyard, Lu Yurong smiled. This time, he'll probably look for Lu Zhengjun. Lung Jinghua slowly nodded. He glanced at Lu Yurong. The two of them had great teamwork. By using both the carrot and the stick, he would not have to worry about not being able to break the knot in Lu Guangdi's heart and lure Lu Zhengjun over. Once Lu Zhengjun arrived, his plan would truly begin. A bright moon hung in the sky. Chu Li sat by the stone table in the courtyard, lazily studying the heavenly king palm. It was brightly lit, and the courtyard was as bright as day. The heavenly king palm was full of mysteries. He wanted to understand its mysteries and use it accordingly. Unfortunately, the omniscient mirror was not omnipotent, and it could not completely understand the mysteries of the heavenly king palm. He suddenly looked up and saw Lu Yurong standing in front of him. She had arrived without a sound, and it was obvious that her cultivation level had increased by quite a bit. Chu Li smiled. "You don't come to me for no reason. Is it because Lu Guangdi hasn't left yet?" "Yes." Lu Yurong nodded. "You've completely offended my uncle-in-law, and he wants to use the secret guardian's hall to deal with you." Chu Li frowned at her. Lu Yurong said, "This is a good opportunity to chase Guyu away." "Why are you being so kind?" Chu Li scoffed. Lu Yurong rolled her eyes at him. "I want to watch your show, but I remember my promise. You, on the other hand," she shook her head as she spoke. Chu Li scoffed. "Don't worry, Lu Guangdi will leave." "That's good." Lu Yurong smiled. "Let me be clear with you. Lu Guangdi is the illegitimate son of Green Deer Cliff's Lu Zhengjun. I'm leaving." She fluttered away after she finished speaking. Chu Li fell into deep thought. Chapter 1177. Chu Li smiled at her with a guilty conscience. Although he did not have a romantic relationship with Lu Yurong, he still felt uneasy and guilty when he came to see Xiao Qi in the middle of the night. Xiao Qi rolled her eyes at him. "She's definitely up to no good." Chu Li smiled. "His Highness, the Crown Prince, wants to show me what he's made of." "Is it because of King Ping?" Xiao Qi was dressed in a white robe. Her hair draped over her shoulders like black satin. Her face was crystal clear and glowing. Chu Li nodded. Xiao Qi asked, "How are you going to deal with it?" Chu Li scoffed. "I might have to return to the public house for a while." Xiao Qi frowned and muttered, "Why don't you take the initiative to go back and avoid him?" Chu Li replied, "Retreating before the battle is too weak. There's no benefit in competing with the Crown Prince." Xiao Qi shook her head. "There's no need to fight him head-on. We need to strike from the shadows. Let's wait and see." Chu Li said, "We can't leave yet." Xiao Qi nodded. She was not too worried. Firstly, she had confidence in Chu Li. Secondly, the public house was their escape route. No matter what, they could always return to the public house. No one could mess with them. No matter what, as long as the great Ji dynasty existed, the public house was as stable as a rock. Early in the morning, Lu Guangdi was slowly practicing his fist technique in his courtyard to nourish his body. After his inner energy was crippled, his body would deteriorate quickly without the nourishment of inner energy. He needed to use external techniques to nourish his body so that it would not deteriorate too much. It would be more strenuous to cultivate in the future. Footsteps could be heard. Zhuo Feiyang pushed open the door and entered the courtyard. He saw Lu Guangdi in a green robe with white steam coming out of his forehead. He laughed. "Yo, Brother Lu is so diligent. I thought you were sleeping in. Zhuo, what are you doing here?" Lu Guangdi frowned. He suspected that Zhuo Feiyang was still a member of the public house. He was Chu Li's subordinate or a spy who was hiding in the Crown Prince's residence. Because of Chu Li, he could not stand Zhuo Feiyang. He hated him so much that he wanted to kill Zhuo Feiyang. Zhuo Feiyang chuckled as he walked to the stone table and sat down. "That's not how you treat a guest. If you have something to say, then hurry up and say it." Lu Guangdi said coldly as he looked down at him from above. Zhuo Feiyang said, all right, I'll just say a few words." "Release," Lu Guangdi said coldly. Zhuo Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "Brother Lu, the rumors outside are spreading like wildfire. Don't you know?" "Know what?" Lu Guangdi frowned. "Hurry up, don't leave me hanging." Zhuo Feiyang smiled and shook his head. "Brother Lu, I'm sure you don't know about it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to sit still. What the hell is going on?" Lu Guangdi growled impatiently. He sat across from him and glared at him coldly. Xue Feiyang's smile did not diminish. Instead, his gaze became even brighter. Both of them stared at each other in the air. Both of them were unwilling to admit defeat and wanted to see who was stronger. In front of Chu Li, Lu Guangdi had completely lost his confidence. He had suffered a terrible blow, but the arrogance in his heart had not dissipated. He still had a condescending attitude towards the people around him, thinking that they were all weaklings that he could defeat with a single move. Xue Feiyang was also an arrogant person. Even without the relationship between Chu Li and the Yi public house, both of them hated each other. "All right, I'll tell you." Xue Feiyang grinned. "The rumors outside are saying that you made a bet with Chu Li that whoever lost would be kicked out of Fairy's capital and never set foot in Fairy's capital again. In the end, you lost." Humph! Lu Guangdi did not deny it. Xue Feiyang shook his head and sighed. "They're saying that disciples from Tide Listening Pavilion don't keep their promises. How shameless! What does this have to do with Tide Listening Pavilion?" Lu Guangdi's expression changed drastically. His feelings towards Tide Listening Pavilion were complicated. There was hatred, gratitude, and admiration. If not for Tide Listening Pavilion, he and his mother would have been killed a long time ago. After all, he had grown up in Tide Listening Pavilion. Without Tide Listening Pavilion, he would not exist. Hearing others criticize Tide Listening Pavilion made him feel worse than hearing others criticize him. Xue Feiyang said, "As the saying goes, it's the father's fault for not teaching his son well. As a disciple of Tide Listening Pavilion, you actually went against your word. Naturally, everyone doesn't have a good impression of Tide Listening Pavilion. It's their fault for not teaching you well." Lu Guangdi's expression darkened. "Xue Feiyang, this isn't a rumor. You made it up yourself, right?" "Me?" Xue Feiyang pointed at himself and laughed. "I can't be bothered with this kind of nonsense. I just thought it was interesting. Do you really want to shamelessly stay in Fairy's capital? His Highness ordered me to stay." Lu Guangdi said coldly. Xue Feiyang chuckled and shook his head. "What are you laughing at?" Lu Guangdi scolded. Xue Feiyang sighed. "Even a 3-year-old can tell that you're using this as an excuse. What order from His Highness? If you really wanted to keep your word, no matter how strict His Highness the Crown Prince ordered you, you wouldn't have stayed. Xue, you can't wait for me to leave, can you?" Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. "No one has seen through your true colors. If I leave, no one will keep an eye on you." Xue Feiyang sighed. "You really think you're smart? Are you even more powerful than Miss Lu? Why didn't Miss Lu chase me away? It's all because of Chu Li." Chapter 1178. P.S. The 40th Alliance leader has been born, Moon Palace leader, and 2 days later, at night, the Crown Prince's residence's backyard was brightly lit. Inside a gazebo on the lake, Lu Guangdi stood at the side with a determined expression, pursing his lips without saying a word. Crown Prince Lung Jinghua shook his head helplessly and looked at Lu Yurong. "Yurong, there's definitely someone behind all this. Is it Chu Li?" Lu Yurong muttered. "Logically speaking, it shouldn't be Chu Li." Her eyes flickered. Since he defeated young Master Lu, there's no need for Chu Li to be so overbearing. Young Master Lu's martial arts is now crippled. He can't be a threat anymore. With his personality, he won't bother to deal with young Master Lu. So, I think it might be the Tempest Temple. The Tempest Temple. Lung Jinghua frowned, his expression darkening. Lu Yurong knew that the Tempest Temple was Lung Jinghua's sore spot. Using the Tempest Temple was the easiest way to fool him. No matter how she looked at it, it was not Chu Li's doing. Chu Li did not benefit from it at all. No one knew about the deal between them. If he did not mention it, no one would ever guess it. This was the beauty of smart people cooperating with smart people. They could fool everyone in the world. At this moment, she felt a particularly wonderful feeling, which made her extremely intoxicated. Lu Guangdi said, "Your Highness, no matter who it is, I can't stay in Fairy's capital anymore. I'll leave tomorrow, let everyone see." "It's just gossip, don't pay attention to it," Lung Jinghua said. He was not satisfied. Letting Lu Guangdi go meant cutting off all ties with Lu Zhengjun. It would be extremely difficult to reconnect. Lu Zhengjun was so powerful. How could he not see through Lung Jinghua's intentions? All these years, Lu Zhengjun had never done anything to the Tempest Temple without Lu Guangdi. It was almost impossible for Lu Zhengjun to make a move. As the crown prince, he had prestige in the imperial court, but to the four major sects, his influence was negligible. Lu Guangdi said, "Your Highness, I can ignore my own reputation, but I can't ignore the Tide Listening Pavilion's reputation. Tide Listening Pavilion's noble reputation cannot be ruined because of me. I would be too ashamed to return." "Have you made up your mind?" Lung Jinghua asked. "Yes." Lu Guangdi gave a fist salute and said, "Your Highness, I can only repay you in the future. This time, no matter what, I must return." "If that's the case, I'll do as you say." Lung Jinghua could tell that he had made up his mind, so he knew it was useless to force him. Lu Yurong said, "Young Master Lu, it's useless even if you leave now. People will always find an excuse to slander Tide Listening Pavilion. I'm not here. Even if they have other excuses, it has nothing to do with me. I have a clear conscience." Lu Guang said, "What a good, have a clear conscience." Lung Jinghua said in a low voice, "All right, Lil Lu, when you return to Tide Listening Pavilion, cultivate well and try to recover as soon as possible. I'll gather some spirit pills and send them over." "Your Highness, you flatter me," Lu Guang said. Lung Jinghua shook his head. "I'm not the kind of person who would burn the bridge after crossing it. Once you've recovered your martial arts, lend me a hand." "Your Highness, I've already sworn to never set foot in Fairy's capital again." Lu Guangdi shook his head. Lung Jinghua chuckled. "You can challenge Chu Li again and win back your bet." "Yes." Lu Guangdi smiled. Lu Yurong secretly despised him, but did not say a word. Lu Guangdi gave her a fist salute. "Miss Lu, I've troubled you for the past few days." Lu Yurong calmly said, "You're welcome." Lu Guangdi sighed. "I'm not good enough for Miss Lu." Lu Yurong smiled faintly. "Young Master Lu, have a safe journey." She turned to Lung Jinghua and said, "Uncle-in-law, I'm afraid young Master Lu's return journey will be dangerous. We need to send a top-notch martial arts master to escort him." Lung Jinghua was stunned. He thought about it and slowly nodded. "All right." He was actually disappointed in Lu Guangdi. He knew that it would be difficult to rely on Lu Guangdi to get Lu Zhengjun's help. Even if Lu Guangdi recovered his martial arts, Lu Zhengjun would never let him come to the crown prince's residence again. His previous words were just to calm Lu Guangdi down, and subconsciously by his heart. In reality, he had already decided to abandon Lu Guangdi. Lu Yurong looked at him deeply. Even if Lung Jinghua did not understand, he did not disobey Lu Yurong. He nodded. "Yurong, pick a few martial arts masters." "Yes." Lu Yurong nodded. "Let Elder Su and Elder who protect him." "That won't do." Lu Guangdi quickly shook his head. He knew that Elder Su and Elder, who were Lung Jinghua's secret guards. They were usually hidden in the dark. Almost no one outside of the residence knew of their existence. However, everyone inside the residence knew how powerful they were. They were the top-notch martial arts masters in the Crown Prince's residence. Lung Jinghua looked at Lu Yurong and nodded without hesitation. "All right, let's pick them." "Your Highness." Lu Guangdi quickly waved his hand. I don't deserve that. I'm just a cripple now. I only had a grudge with Chu Li, and he took care of me. Other than that, I have no grudges with anyone else, so no one will harm me. Lu Yurong scoffed. Naive. Lu Guangdi looked at her unhappily. Lu Yurong said, their target isn't you, it's uncle-in-law. Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows and thought about it. He was confused and had no idea what to do. Lung Jinghua nodded thoughtfully. Yes, Yurong is right. Don't drag you down because of me. It's decided then. I still have to attend court tomorrow, so I won't be able to send you off. Let Yurong send you off on my behalf. Lu Yurong said, Don't worry, uncle-in-law. At dawn the next day, Lu Guangdi slowly walked out of the crown prince's residence. Beside him were two elders who were holding onto 3 horses. The 2 elders looked ordinary and had a mediocre temperament. They did not look like masters at all. They looked like ordinary servants. Lu Yurong gave him a fist salute at the entrance of the crown prince's residence. Lu Guangdi looked at Lu Yurong, who was dressed in white and had a white veil over her face. He felt melancholy and reluctant to part with her, but he could only say goodbye reluctantly. He did not know when he would see Lu Yurong again. A gust of wind blew, and Lu Yurong's white robe fluttered in the wind. She looked like an otherworldly fairy. Lu Yurong's eyes were clear as she calmly looked at him. She gave him a fist salute and said, Young Master Lu, take care. When you return to Tide Listening Pavilion, write a letter to His Highness. His Highness values you the most. All right. Lu Guangdi nodded and gave her another fist salute. He held back his reluctance and used all of his willpower to slowly turn around and walk out. The streets were bustling as usual. Looking at this bustling scene, he felt like he was sitting in a prisoner's carriage. His heart was dead. He walked all the way to Fairy's capital's south gate. When he walked out of the south gate, he turned around and looked back. The majestic Fairy's capital did not move at all. It was as if it had existed for tens of thousands of years. The only thing that could be seen was the people going in and out. He sighed. The 2 elders led the horses over. Young Master Lu, let's go. Lu Guangdi nodded solemnly. He turned around and got on the horse. Suddenly, he stopped and frowned as he looked at the side of the road. His eyesight was better than most people's. He saw Chu Li standing in the farewell pavilion. Chu Li's white robe fluttered in the wind. Behind him was a beautiful woman who looked like ice and snow. She stood beside him and looked in his direction. He put down the white jade cup and gave a fist salute. Lu Guangdi down his cup as well. He put down the white jade cup and turned to leave. As she watched the 3 of them disappear into the distance, Xue Ling asked in confusion, Master, why did you have to be so courteous with him? You gave him so much face. Chu Li smiled. If you want something, you have to pay a price. Isn't he Master's enemy? Xue Ling asked. Chu Li said, gratitude and hatred are interchangeable. Everything can be changed. Who can tell them apart? Xue Ling said, Master. Chu Li turned around and smiled. I do have a plan. There's no point talking about it now. Xue Ling looked at him helplessly. Chu Li smiled without saying anything. He turned around and left the pavilion. When Lung Jinghua returned to the crown prince's residence in the evening, he went to the backyard. The setting sun dyed the backyard red. Lu Yurong was sitting in a gazebo reading a book. She wore a white robe, and a white veil covered her face. Only her clear eyes could be seen. Not far away, the 9 women were busy with their own things. They had surrounded her and formed a formation that could be activated in an instant. Lung Jinghua came to the gazebo and sat opposite Lu Yurong. Yurong, I heard that you've mobilized a few more protectors to secretly follow Lu Guangdi? Yes. Lu Yurong put down the scroll. Lung Jinghua said, Why do you care so much about Lu Guangdi, who's already crippled? Uncle-in-law, aren't you worried that he'll be assassinated? Lu Yurong asked. Lung Jinghua frowned. He's now a cripple. He's no threat. Moreover, his father is Lu Zhengjun. Aren't you afraid that Lu Zhengjun will take revenge by killing him? Not everyone is afraid of Lu Zhengjun. Lu Yurong said, What will Lu Zhengjun do if he's killed? Of course he'll take revenge. Lung Jinghua said, What if he can't find his enemy? We can't not be too careful. Lung Jinghua came back to his senses. He realized that his previous train of thought was inappropriate. His face darkened. After pondering for a while, he slowly said, If he can't find his enemy, he'll deal with Chu Li and vent his anger on us. Chapter 1180. We have to be on guard. Lung Jinghua's face darkened. When that happens, not only will we fail to rope Lu Zhengjun in, but we'll also become enemies. He might even try to assassinate me. That's right. Lu Yurong nodded. That's why we need to make sure that Lu Guangdi returns to Tide Listening Pavilion safely. All right, thank you for your meticulous planning, Yurong. I was too careless. Lung Jinghua broke out in a cold sweat. If it was up to him, he would have abandoned Lu Guangdi right away. If anything happened to Lu Guangdi, he would have gone for wool and come home shorn. Not only would he have provoked a powerful figure like Lu Zhengjun, he might even have offended the Green Deer Cliff. Lu Yurong smiled and said, Uncle-in-law is the one who makes the big decisions, and I'm the one who fills in the gaps. If I can't think of this, then I'm not doing my job well. Okay. Lung Jinghua was secretly thankful that Lu Yurong was there. Otherwise, this matter would have become a huge problem. Although he had become the crown prince, there were still many people who did not give up and were eager to make a move. Moreover, the Tempest Temple was also eyeing him. If a disciple of the Tempest Temple assassinated Lu Guangdi, then there would be no end of trouble. This was very likely to happen. The Tempest Temple was everywhere, so they would definitely notice this flaw. All right, Lung Jinghua said. Chu Li sent young Lu off today and reminded him that it's not safe on the road. It seems like he's trying to befriend young Lu. What exactly is he planning? Lu Yurong scoffed. If I can think of that, then so can he. If Lu Guangdi dies, then he'll be the first one to suffer. But that's strange. Logically speaking, he shouldn't be afraid of Green Deer Cliff. Where does he get the confidence to not be afraid of Green Deer Cliff? Lung Jinghua asked. Lu Yurong replied, Xiao Yueling is a disciple of Green Deer Cliff. Lung Jinghua nodded. If he was really worried about Lu Guangdi's safety, why didn't he escort him? Lu Yurong asked. Lung Jinghua chuckled. He can't bring himself to do that. After all, Lu Guangdi was defeated by him, and his martial arts was crippled by him. If he were to escort him now, what would people think of him? He's just a fickle villain. That's true. Lu Yurong pondered. As the sun set, Lu Guangdi sat next to a bonfire, warming himself while channeling his energy to regulate his breathing. He was constantly circulating his internal energy. Without the protection of his internal energy, his body was exceptionally weak. After a day of traveling, there was not a single part of his body that did not hurt. It was as if his body did not belong to him, and he could not control it. As the sun set, the surroundings suddenly became cold. After cultivating for a while, he did not make any progress. He could only approach the bonfire to keep warm. After losing his cultivation, he was no longer immune to heat and cold. He was especially afraid of cold and tiredness. His handsome face darkened under the bonfire as he cursed Chu Li in his heart. It was extremely difficult to recover his cultivation level. Chu Li was ruthless. Not only did he cripple his cultivation level, but he also damaged his meridians. Even though he had taken some spirit medicine to heal his injuries, it still left a hidden injury. If there was nothing wrong with his body, with his outstanding aptitude, he should have gathered a bit of inner energy by now. Even if he could not use it to defend against enemies, it would not be a problem for him to resist the cold, and he would not need a campfire to warm himself. He suddenly took out a jade pendant and was about to throw it into the bonfire. The old man sitting beside him hurriedly said, "Young Master Lu?" Lu Guangdi looked at him. The old man's surname was Hu. He had a mediocre appearance and did not look like a master at all. He looked at the jade pendant in Lu Guangdi's hand. "Young Master Lu, are you going to throw this jade pendant away?" "Yes," Lu Guangdi scoffed. "Since it's a gift from Chu Li, it's definitely not something good. He might even use this opportunity to harm me." "I don't think so." Elder Hu shook his head. "Chu Li doesn't need to go through so much trouble. This jade pendant is no ordinary item." The other old man, Elder Su, smiled. "I heard that Chu Li has some mystical abilities. I think he's up to no good." Lu Guangdi scoffed. Elder Hu said, "In my opinion, you've misunderstood him. Think about it. If something happens to you, young Master Lu, and your father investigates, who will bear the brunt of it?" "Nothing will happen to me." Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows. Elder Hu laughed. "We martial artists always put our lives on the line. No matter how strong our martial arts are, we can't guarantee that we'll live until tomorrow. There's no need to be so afraid of death. If something happens to you, Chu Li will suffer as well. Your father will definitely cripple his martial arts or even take his life." Lu Guangdi smiled. It would be best if Chu Li died. He suddenly had an idea. If Lu Zhengjun really came looking for him, he might be able to use him to get rid of Chu Li. After all, neither of them were good people. It would be best if both of them were heavily injured. Elder Su said, "That's why he doesn't want anything to happen to young Master Lu. He might even personally save you at a critical moment. This jade pendant might really be useful." "Humph, I can't count on him. I'll be thankful if he doesn't harm me." Lu Guangdi pouted. He looked at the jade pendant in disdain and put it back into his pocket. "This Chu Li really has times when he's confused. Isn't he afraid that I'll set up a trap and then crush the jade pendant to wait for him to come? Isn't he a little too confident?" Since he revealed such a fatal flaw, Lu Guangdi would not hold back. He could only blame himself for offending him. He deserved to die for offending him. Lu Guangdi smirked. He was extremely pleased with himself. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Suddenly, a few whistles could be heard. 10 silhouettes emerged from the forest and pounced at the 3 of them. Several flashes of light enveloped the 3 of them. "Damn it!" Elder Su snorted and stood in front of Lu Guangdi. Elder Hu went forward and intercepted the 10 of them. The 2 of them were cautious. They did not want to be meritorious, but they wanted to avoid mistakes. Lu Guangdi did not have any martial arts now. He could not withstand a single blow. Elder Hu waved both of his palms. The sky was filled with palm energy. The 10 of them split into 2 groups and pounced at Lu Guangdi. He could only block half of them. The other 5 were still charging at Lu Guangdi, but they were blocked by Elder Su. Lu Guangdi stood next to the bonfire, his clothes fluttering. The palm energy was like a hurricane. The bonfire shook violently and his clothes fluttered. The palm energy could flip him over at any time. His eyes flashed. He was terrified. He wanted to run away. Unfortunately, He did not have any martial arts. He could only wait for death. Thinking about this, he hated Chu Li even more. He wanted to tear him apart. Elder Su and Elder, who did not seem to have any martial arts. Now that they were displaying their top martial arts, they were actually suppressing the 5 of them. Although the 10 of them were strong, they paled in comparison to Elder Su and Elder Hu. They were cautious at first, but when they saw how weak their opponents were, they finally relaxed. They began to attack relentlessly. They wanted to get rid of these 10 people as soon as possible in case there were more assassins later. The 10 of them were being suppressed by the 2 of them. They kept retreating and slowly approached the forest. At first, Lu Guangdi was startled as his heart trembled in fear. However, when he saw that Su and Hu were suppressing their opponents to the point where they could not even breathe, he instantly let out a sigh of relief. Following that, he was filled with boundless rage. He wanted nothing more than to kill them all with a single palm strike. He shouted, "Elder Su and Elder Hu, who are they?" Elder Su and Elder Hu shook their heads. Chapter 1181. Lu Guangdi glared fiercely at the 10 masked men in black. They were of different heights, and their martial arts were all different. Some used swords, some used knives, and most used fists and palms. Their techniques were exquisite and powerful, but it was difficult to tell which sect they were from. Bang, 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 bang. The continuous sounds of their palms colliding was like a thunderstorm, causing the yellow dust and dead leaves on the ground to dance. Ding, 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 ding. Elder Su and Elder Hu's fists and palms collided with the swords and knives, letting out a clear sound like metal clashing. The 2 of them were able to suppress the people in front of them with their bare hands. The 10 people slowly retreated into the forest under the pressure of the 2 men. Elder Su and Elder Zhou suddenly retreated, not continuing to chase after them as they watched them enter the forest. They were experienced and cautious, knowing the rule of not entering a forest. Moreover, they were most concerned about Lu Guangdi. If they chased them into the forest, it would be bad if they were lured away. After the 10 people retreated into the forest, seeing that Elder Su and Elder Hu did not chase after them, they finally left. Lu Guangdi's handsome face darkened as he stared at their disappearing silhouettes. Elder Su smiled. Although their martial arts are strong, they're not the best. They probably don't know that we're protecting you. Young Master Lu. Lu Guangdi shook his head. If they know that you 2 are here, I'm afraid they'll find someone stronger. Or they could just retreat, be sensible. Elder Hu smiled. He did not believe what he said. The 2 of them had strange techniques and did not show their appearance. Even if others saw them, they would not think that they were masters. Instead, they would think that they were easy to bully. Lu Guangdi smiled and shook his head. It's not going to be easy down the road. Lu Guangdi glanced at the 2 elders and fist saluted. Thank you, seniors. I'll have to entrust everything to you. Young Master Lu, you don't have to be so polite. Elder Hu smiled and waved his hand. We're just following orders. If you want to thank someone, thank Miss Lu and His Highness the Crown Prince. Yes. Lu Guangdi nodded. It seemed that Chu Li's jinx was right. His journey would not be peaceful. Elder Hu said, since they're gone, we should take a good rest. There will probably be a big battle down the road. We need to conserve our energy. Seniors, if it really comes to a critical moment, please leave first. Don't worry about me, Lu Guang said. Old Su and Old Hu smiled and shook their heads. We are under orders to protect you, young Master Lu. Of course, we have to obey. If we are here, young Master Lu will be here. Even if we are not, young Master Lu will still be here. Don't worry. Sigh. Lu Guangdi was secretly delighted, but he pretended to look helpless. In the evening of the next day, they continued to rest in a forest and made a bonfire. Today's temperature was exceptionally low, and the wind was piercingly cold. Lu Guangdi could not stand it, as he felt like he was going to freeze to death. It took him a while to warm himself up by the fire. He felt as if he had been reborn. The more he hated his frail body, the more he hated Chu Li. His hatred for Chu Li was getting stronger and stronger, and he was more motivated to cultivate again. Unfortunately, his body was injured by Chu Li, and there was no progress in recovering his martial arts. He took out the white jade pendant from his bosom and played with this exquisite jade pendant. He had an incomparably strong urge to throw this jade pendant to the ground and crush it into pieces. Unfortunately, he knew that with his current meager strength, it was impossible to crush this jade pendant into pieces. When he thought of this, he hated Chu Li even more. He swore to kill him. No matter what, he must kill Chu Li. Old Su and Old Who watched him clench their teeth and shook their heads helplessly. This young master Lu cultivated desperately and crazily. He was always cultivating, but his personality was a little extreme. Even if Chu Li gave this white jade pendant to bury the hatchet, he would not be able to get young Master Lu's forgiveness. They could not help but feel pity for Chu Li. Meeting such an extreme person, there was nothing they could do. Be careful. Old Who suddenly raised his head and shouted. Old Su appeared beside Lu Guangdi in a flash, ready to take him away. For figures appeared around them. Old Su grabbed Lu Guangdi and took a step back, escaping from the four people's encirclement. Old Who went up to them. The four silhouettes were four elderly men in gray robes. Their heads were all wrapped up, revealing only a pair of cold eyes that were as cold as ice. Lu Guangdi met the gazes of these four people and was instantly shaken to the core, unable to maintain his composure. As his body shivered, he sighed to himself. These four people must have some kind of mystical technique, or else they would not have such intense gazes. Old Who went up to the four people and attacked without saying a word. The five of them were instantly entangled, and Old Who was immediately at a disadvantage. These four gray-clothed people's cultivation levels were extremely high. They were only slightly weaker than him. Two of the gray-clothed people held him back, while the other two rushed towards Lu Guangdi and Old Su. Old Su scoffed and pulled Lu Guangdi to the back while he went up to meet them. The three of them instantly became entangled. Old Su could not take them down for a while. On the other side, although the two gray-clothed elders were at a disadvantage, they could still hold Old Who back. The situation was in a stalemate. Watch out! Old Su and Old Who shouted at Lu Guangdi at the same time. A black-clothed person floated out of the forest. He did not seem to be in the same group as the gray-clothed people. He shot towards Lu Guangdi like a flash of light and slammed his palm towards Lu Guangdi. How dare you! Old Who and Old Su roared and wanted to rush over, but they were once again held back by the gray-clothed person in front of them. The black-clothed person ignored their roars and slammed his palm towards Lu Guangdi's chest. Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth and desperately channeled his inner energy. However, there was no reaction. There was not even a trace of inner energy. He took 2 steps forward. However, all of this was useless. No matter how exquisite his footwork was, it was useless in front of his opponent's reaction speed. He could only watch helplessly as his chest was hit. Then, darkness surged up like a tidal wave and engulfed him. Young Master Lu, Old Who and Old Su roared and unleashed a frenzied attack. They forced the 2 groups of gray-clothed people to retreat and arrived in front of Lu Guangdi. Lu Guangdi flew more than 10 meters away and landed heavily on the ground. He laid on the ground like a rag doll, not moving an inch. Old Sue and Old Who approached him, but they did not dare to touch him. They reached out and gently checked his pulse. The two of them looked extremely gloomy. Lu Guangdi was already dead. Lu Guangdi's martial arts was already crippled, and he had no inner energy left. He was hit by a top-notch grandmaster's palm without the slightest bit of resistance or any tricks. For someone who was crippled of martial arts, death was certain. The gray-clothed person and the black-clothed person turned into a wisp of smoke and silently disappeared into the forest. They were certain that Lu Guangdi would definitely die. Once Lu Guangdi died, they knew that Old Hu and Old Sue would definitely go crazy. Their cultivation levels were extremely high. Now that they had gone crazy, their power was even more terrifying. Even if they could fight them off, they might lose some people. Since they had achieved their goal, they naturally would not risk their lives to fight them. Sigh. The two of them sighed. They had been entrusted with this task by Lu Yurong and Her Royal Highness the Crown Prince. They did not think that a seemingly easy task would end up like this. Lu Guangdi was killed right in front of their eyes. Ah! Old Sue suddenly roared to the sky. Old Hu shook his head. Bang! He slammed his palm on the ground, creating a crater. He was furious. The two of them felt extremely sullen. Chapter 1182. Lu Guangdi was already dead. He breathed his last. The two of them were initially confident that there would not be any problems. Their martial arts skills were top-notch, and they had been stealthily traveling the entire way. They did not enter the city and only rested in the wilderness. Sometimes they would even take shortcuts, so they did not encounter anyone along the way. The previous attack made them feel relieved. They felt that they should be able to get through this. The attacker was not strong, so they were not from any top-notch sect or force. Ever since Lu Guangdi came to Fairy's capital, he had not provoked anyone other than Chu Li. Chu Li wanted to bury the hatchet because he was worried about Lu Zhengjun from Green Deer Cliff. Naturally, he would not send someone to assassinate him. No matter how hated Lu Guangdi was, there would only be a group of people who wanted to kill him. There would not be too many people. They never thought that the assassins this time would be so powerful that they actually succeeded in killing them. Bam, 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 bam. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound like thunder. The two of them regained their senses and quickly turned to look. This sound came from the depths of the forest. It was the sound of grandmasters fighting. Elder Su took a deep breath and took out a jade bottle. He poured out a spirit pill and stuffed it into Lu Guangdi's mouth. He then used his energy to pat Lu Guangdi a few times. This was the spirit pill that Lu Yurong had given them before they left, the spirit blessing pill. It was the E-Public House's unique spirit pill. It could even bring back the dead. After Lu Guangdi was hit, darkness swallowed him, but he still felt like he was falling into a deep darkness. His body was cold. As time passed, he did not know how much time had passed. Gradually, he felt light, and light appeared in front of his eyes. He knew from the sex archives that this was a sign that his soul was about to leave his body after death. He was about to die completely. He was not willing to die like this. The past flashed past his eyes one by one. It was so fast that he did not miss anything. He felt an inexplicable feeling in his heart. He let out a long sigh and gradually calmed down. There was a hint of joy in his heart. He was completely liberated. At this moment, he swallowed a spirit pill. A burning sensation came from his stomach. The light feeling disappeared, and his mind fell. Thousands of sensations surged in his heart. His body was in pain, his skin felt refreshed, and his organs felt like they were being cut by knives. Cough, 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 cough. Lu Guangdi suddenly coughed violently. His heart suddenly started beating again. He sat up abruptly and spat out a mouthful of black blood, along with the burning sensation from his stomach. An endless power surged up and penetrated through his entire body. Immediately, his entire body was surrounded by clear air. He immediately widened his eyes and looked at the two old men. Thank God! Elder Su and Elder Hu put their palms together and bowed in the direction of Shendu. Elder Su, Elder Hu, I'm alive again? Lu Guang asked. Ha ha! Elder Su laughed and said, Young Master Lu, you're really lucky to be alive again. Thank you, seniors. Lu Guangdi gave a fist salute. After dying once, his mind was clear and he felt the preciousness of life. He became more and more afraid of death. Although the two of them had failed to protect him and caused him to lose his life, he was still grateful that they could save his life. However, he still had to tell His Highness the Crown Prince that the two of them were not suitable to be guards. No need to thank us. Elder Su hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, If you want to thank someone, thank Miss Lu. It was Miss Lu who gave me this resurrection spirit pill before we parted. Of course, he did not know what Lu Guangdi was thinking. He thought that Lu Guangdi was really grateful to him. Sigh. Lu Guangdi sighed. I owe Miss Lu my life. Looks like I'll have to repay her for the rest of my life. He felt an inexplicable sense of joy. With this excuse, he could stay by Lu Yurong's side, take care of her, and obtain her. Miss Lu is really meticulous. Elder Su and Elder Hu nodded and praised. They had experienced Lu Yurong's amazing methods more than once. This time, it seemed very normal. Not far away, the sound of explosions could still be heard. The two of them frowned and looked at each other. They did not know which grandmasters it was, or if it was the assassin from before. They suppressed their thoughts of going over. It was not the right time to be curious. It was better not to cause any more trouble. They only had one spirit blessing pill. If they died again, they would be helpless. Bam, 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 bam. Continuous dull sounds could be heard. Lu Guangdi could not help but be curious. Seniors, let's go and take a look. We should hurry on with our journey. Elder Su said. Lu Guangdi said, Maybe we know them. Let's go and take a look, Elder Hu said. All right. Elder Su could only agree. He held on to Lu Guangdi and glided forward. Soon, they reached the depths of the forest. There were a total of 11 people fighting. It was 5 against 6. The 5 of them were the 4 men in gray and 1 man in black who tried to assassinate Lu Guangdi. The other 6 were dressed in green. The 2 groups were evenly matched. It's our people. Elder Su turned to look at Elder Hu. Elder Hu nodded. Looks like Miss Lu secretly sent people. Hey, these people. Elder Su was very dissatisfied. These people were too unreliable. Since they came, they did not help in time. They let Lu Guangdi die once. Fortunately, it was Lu Guangdi this time. If it was the Crown Prince, he would not be able to redeem himself even if he died 100 times. Let's help them, Elder Hu said. Elder Su frowned and thought for a while. He then snorted. That's the only way. Lu Guangdi was placed on a tree branch. The 2 of them rushed over. Both of them were top-notch experts. Once they joined in, the situation was instantly reversed. They worked together to heavily injure one of the men in gray, while the others escaped. The 6 middle-aged men in green greeted the 2 of them. What's wrong with you guys? Elder Su asked without holding back. The 6 middle-aged men in green helplessly shook their heads. A square-faced, middle-aged man sighed. We secretly defeated a group of people. When we rushed over, we were too late. Elder Su, young Master Lu is dead, right? He died once and came back to life. Elder Sue snorted. Luckily, Miss Lou gave us the spirit medicine. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to face anyone. The 6 middle-aged men in green nodded bitterly. This time, they had made a huge mistake. If it were not for the spirit medicine that saved Lu Guangdi, they would have seriously neglected their duties. They would not have a good time when they returned. After this, they decided not to hide in the dark anymore. They met up with Elder Sue and Elder, and hurried on their journey together. On a mountain peak 10 miles away, Chu Li was hugging Xiao Qi as they sat under a pine tree and enjoyed the scenery. The mountain stretched on endlessly like a giant dragon entrenched in the ground. Since it was early winter, all the grass had withered. Only the pine forest was still green. His eyes were admiring the scenery, but his mind was filled with Lu Guangdi's every move, every word, and every thought. After Lu Guangdi's death, the protective force in Lu Guangdi's mind finally dissipated. Chu Li could finally see what Lu Guangdi was thinking. He was very satisfied. It seemed that this spirit blessing pill was not wasted. Xiao Qi said, "If we just leave like that, Guyu will probably go crazy." Chu Li smiled. Of the 36 stratagems, leaving is the best strategy. It's best to anger him. Xiao Qi pursed her lips and smiled. "I guess no one would expect you to take a step back." Chu Li nodded. "Since I've left the imperial residence, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince won't chase after me. Let's not turn against each other, for now. What if he chases after you?" Xiao Qi asked. "He might send people from the secret guardian's hall to the public house. We'll just fight our way out." Chu Li played it down. Chapter 1183. It was obvious that Lu Yurong wanted him to provoke a dispute with the secret guardian's hall and fight to the death. Then she would take the opportunity to pry open Guyu's position and force him to leave. However, it was inevitable that Chu Li would be hurt in the process. If he made a fool of himself, she would be able to watch him make a fool of himself. Previously, he did not want to take a step back. He wanted to take Guyu down a notch. Guyu was getting more and more outrageous. Ever since the last time, he had become even more rampant. Now that the situation was different, he had more important things to do. So he changed his mind and took the opportunity to leave King En's imperial residence. It seemed like he was showing weakness to the secret guardian's hall. Both he and Lu Yurong were people who kept their promises. Lu Yurong would never go back on her word and would definitely bring down Guyu. However, without him fighting Guyu, it would be much more difficult for Lu Yurong to bring down Guyu. He could also watch the show. The two of them schemed against each other all day long, fighting in secret. Xiao Qi asked, "Why do you value Lu Guangdi so much?" "Guess." Chu Li tightened his arms around her flexible and firm waist. "I don't think he's worried about Lu Zhengjun." Xiao Qi furrowed her brows and muttered, "Others might be afraid of him, but you might not necessarily be afraid of him. Then, you must have some ulterior motive. What is there to gain from Lu Guangdi? Lu Zhengjun?" She looked up at Chu Li. The two of them were so close that their breaths could reach each other's faces. Chu Li laughed. "Madam knows me best. You'd better think it through." Xiao Qi frowned. Green Deer Cliff isn't an ordinary faction. Once you offend them, you'll be in endless trouble. Of course, the 4 major sections. Chu Li smiled and nodded. Xiao Qi stared at Chu Li worriedly. Every time he had this expression, it was when he was about to do something extraordinary. She could not guess what he was about to do. Chu Li smiled. "Don't worry." Xiao Qi gently shook her head. She could not stop him from doing things anyway. Chu Li asked, "Madam, are you going to the Spirit Crane's Peak or the public house?" "Let's go back," Xiao Qi said. I heard that big brother and eldest sister-in-law are fighting again. Eldest sister-in-law ran back to her maiden home. Chuli smiled. These two are really— Xiao Taiying's character was calm and steady. He was usually generous and straightforward, and rarely quarreled with others. His wife was also dignified and generous, gentle and virtuous. However, whenever the two of them were together, they would always quarrel. A small quarrel every few days, and a big quarrel every 10 days. After the quarrel, she wanted to go back to her parents' home. Xiao Taiying quickly went to fetch her back. They had been married for less than a year, but they had gone back and forth more than 10 times. At first, everyone was very nervous, but later on, they got used to it. If they wanted to quarrel, let them. Anyway, they would make up soon. Xiaoqi said, I heard that it was a big deal this time. Big brother was so angry that he refused to accept it. Master Xiao Taiying is just being stubborn. Let's see how long he can last. Chuli shook his head and smiled. I guess by the time you return, Master Xiao Taiying will have already left. Xiaoqi frowned at him. Chuli smiled. Then let's go back and take a look. Let's go, Xiaoqi said. The two of them disappeared in a flash and appeared in the public house, directly arriving at Iron Eagle Island. In the end, he did not see Xiao Taiying. He asked around, and sure enough, Xiao Taiying had already left. Xiaoqi frowned and shook her head. She sighed. Big brother has changed. Chuli smiled. Master Xiao Taiying is still deeply in love. He'll be fine after a while. Sigh. Xiaoqi sighed. What nonsense. It's fun to make a scene. Chuli smiled. Big brother needs to relax like this. He was too tense before. Now, their days are very interesting. That's true. Xiaoqi nodded. Chuli asked, Madam, are you really going to stay here? Yes, the public house can't be empty. Xiaoqi nodded. If something really happens, I can help. Chuli left the High Duke's public house and returned to Lu Guangdi's side to guard him. He was 10 miles away, but no one noticed his presence. Under the escort of 8 people, Lu Guangdi had a smooth journey, and soon he returned to Tide Listening Pavilion. Chuli finally found out where Tide Listening Pavilion was. It turned out to be on a peninsula near the sea, and there was a chain of palaces on the island. This palace was called the Dragon King Palace, and it was where the fishermen worshipped the Dragon King. There were more than 10 palaces in total, and they formed a chain of buildings that stretched for about 5 miles by the sea. After Elder Su, Elder Hu, and the 6 protectors left, Chuli rented a house not far from Tide Listening Pavilion and cultivated his energy to regulate his breath every day. The omniscient mirror observed Lu Guangdi from inside to outside, from the raging billow technique and other martial arts that he cultivated to the depths of his heart, from his actions to his words. Everything was observed and remembered. The disciples of Tide Listening Pavilion were the servants of the Dragon King Palace. They usually hid their martial arts, and outsiders did not know about it. There were a total of 12 palaces, and 4 of them were open for people to burn incense and pray. The remaining 8 were not open to the public, and they were where Tide Listening Pavilion was located. They cultivated martial arts in the palaces, read, and wrote. They lived a peaceful life, aloof from worldly affairs. In the evening, the setting sun died, all the palaces read, and the lights in the palaces were dim. Everyone ran out of the palaces to cultivate outside. A handsome middle-aged man in a green robe slowly walked into one of the palaces and spoke to an elder with white eyebrows for a while. Then, the elder personally brought the middle-aged man to the 3rd floor of the palaces. This was a library with a total of 3 floors. It was the tallest building in the Dragon King Palace. They came to a quiet room on the 3rd floor, and the elder knocked on the door. Guangdi. Lu Guangdi got off the bed and opened the door. When he saw the elder, he smiled. Master. He then saw the handsome middle-aged man in a green robe, and the smile on his face instantly froze. Then he turned around and walked away. He sat on the bed, closed his eyes, and did not move an inch. Guangdi, you two talk. There is no overnight grudge between father and son. The elder with white eyebrows sighed and said gently, if there's anything, just talk it out. After all, you're father and son. Don't be too distant. Master. Lu Guangdi opened his eyes and said in a deep voice. The elder with white eyebrows waved his hand, smiled at the handsome middle-aged man, and then turned to leave. Lu Guangdi closed his eyes again and did not move an inch. Lu Zhengjun took a chair and placed it in front of the bed. Then he sat on it and faced Lu Guangdi, staring at him without moving an inch. Lu Guangdi closed his eyes for a while before opening them again. When he saw the gentle gaze, he was stunned and quickly closed his eyes again. The handsome middle-aged man was Lu Zhengjun. He said calmly, don't you have anything to say? I have nothing to say. Lu Guangdi said coldly. Lu Zhengjun said, I originally thought that you were strong enough and practiced a good martial art. I didn't expect you to be crippled as soon as you went out. You're covered in dirt, and you've embarrassed me. Lu Guangdi suddenly opened his eyes and glared at him fiercely. Lu Zhengjun's voice was gentle, but his words were sharp. Do you think that just because you have a high cultivation level, you'll be invincible in the world? Do you think that you'll be famous enough to surpass my previous reputation? Humph! Lu Guangdi did not deny it. He did not want to show weakness in front of Lu Zhengjun. That was why he ended up in this state. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. You're a disciple of Tide Listening Pavilion, and I'm a disciple of Green Deer Cliff. How can that be the same? Tide Listening Pavilion's martial arts and Green Deer Cliff's are worlds apart. It's like the difference between a mouse and a cat. No matter how strong the mouse is, it can never defeat the cat. Are you here to humiliate me? Lu Guangdi scoffed. Chapter 1184. Of course. Lu Guang said. Lu Zhengjun remarked. You don't look like you want to take revenge now. What do you mean? Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows as he glared at him. Lu Zhengjun asked, I can avenge you. Do you want to say something? I don't want to say it. Lu Guangdi snapped. No one is going to beg you for help. If you want to help, then help. If you don't want to help, then don't. After all, it's not just me who's going to be embarrassed. Not bad. You have some of my essence. Lu Zhengjun nodded as he was pleased. All right, you're not only embarrassing yourself, but also the Tide Listening Pavilion. Lu Guangdi's expression changed slightly. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. Of course, mine too. Humph. Lu Guangdi pouted. He really didn't want to acknowledge this heartless father, as he felt sorry for his mother. Although his mother had urged him to acknowledge his father on her deathbed, he felt that if he did, then his mother would have suffered for nothing. It would be too vexing. Lu Zhengjun explained. My blood flows in your veins, so it's my fault that you're incompetent. I've specially asked for a primary heaven pill for you, but it seems like you don't want it. You're betting on your determination to recover your martial arts. Lu Guangdi was shocked. Initially, Yangming had the same thought, but he felt that it was wishful thinking. The primary heaven pill was too precious, and it could not be obtained easily. Yangming was only an illegitimate child, and Lu Zhengjun had 5 other children, so it was impossible for him to obtain the primary heaven pill for an illegitimate child. What, you really don't want it? Lu Zhengjun smiled faintly. Yes. Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth. He felt his face heating up as if it was burning. However, the primary heaven pill had a fatal attraction. In order to recover his martial arts, he was willing to sacrifice his reputation. As long as he could avenge himself, he would kill Chu Li. Lu Zhengjun asked, "What should you say then?" "Many. Thank you." Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth as he spat out each word. Lu Zhengjun commented, "Looks like you can't let go of the knot in your heart, and you don't want to acknowledge your father." "I don't want to betray my mother," Lu Guangdi said coldly. "Forget it. If you don't want to admit it, then don't." Lu Zhengjun sighed. "You don't know what happened between me and your mother, so don't think that I've let her down. You're the one who betrayed my mother." Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "It's complicated, but you've finally grown up. I'm going to bring you to live at Green Deer Cliff for some time." "I'm not going," Lu Guangdi huffed. "Other than Tide Listening Pavilion, I'm not going anywhere else." "Are you really not going?" Lu Zhengjun asked. "Don't you want to seek revenge?" Lu Guangdi fell silent. Of course, he knew that it would be difficult for him to take revenge with his own strength, so he said coldly, "How about this? You help me take revenge." Lu Zhengjun was surprised. Lu Guangdi scoffed. "I'll lure Chu Li over, and you'll help me kill him. Do you really want to do that?" Lu Zhengjun was slightly disappointed. "Yes." Lu Guangdi nodded ferociously. "As long as you kill him, I'll follow you to Green Deer Cliff. Otherwise, I'll never leave Tide Listening Pavilion. Even if I die of old age here, I'll never acknowledge you." "Aren't you going to take revenge yourself?" "No need," Lu Guangdi coldly replied. "If I could get someone else to avenge me, why would I do it myself? I'm not that stupid. Are you going to help me or not?" "All right." Lu Zhengjun slowly nodded. "Killing him is good too. He's a scourge. I wanted to kill him before, but I wanted to train you a little, so I let him go." "All right." Lu Guangdi smiled. "But I have to remind you, don't fail miserably. Don't think that Chu Li is no match for you just because he's young. He might actually be able to defeat you." Hee. Lu Zhengjun burst out laughing. He looked like he was in his 40s, but he was actually over 100 years old. This was because of his refined inner energy and Green Deer Cliff's unique heart technique. "All right then, get ready. I'm going to summon Chu Li over." Lu Guangdi said. "How are you going to summon him over?" Lu Zhengjun asked. Lu Guangdi took out a white jade pendant and handed it to him. "Chu Li gave this to me. He said that as long as I crushed it, he would come over. He even wanted to lend me a hand. He didn't want me to die." "Isn't he your enemy?" Lu Zhengjun frowned. He really did not know the situation. He only knew that Chu Li had crippled Lu Guangdi's martial arts. "He's my enemy." Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. "It's all thanks to you. He was afraid that if I got killed along the way, you would come after him. That's why he didn't want me to die, but he couldn't bring himself to personally escort me, so he made this." "Interesting." Lu Zhengjun smiled. He felt that it was understandable that Chu Li was afraid of him. After all, his reputation was not comparable to the current Chu Li. Lu Guangdi said, "I've asked Elder Pu and Elder Su to take a look. They said that this jade pendant is indeed strange. It might really be able to summon Chu Li over." Lu Zhengjun waved his hand, and the white jade pendant instantly flew into his hand. He flipped it over and over, sensing it for a while, then slowly nodded. "This jade pendant is indeed strange. Why don't you try crushing it? Then get ready. Don't let him get away." Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Zhengjun nodded. "Don't worry. Although he's quite famous, he's still no match for me." "All right." Lu Guangdi grunted and crushed the jade pendant. As soon as the jade pendant was crushed, it was as if a stream of light shot out and instantly rushed to the roof. Then it pierced through the air and disappeared without a trace. Lu Zhongjun looked at the stream of light in shock. As he watched it disappear, he frowned. He's quite capable indeed. He knew that he did not have such an ability. Obviously, the stream of light would travel a long distance and reach Chu Li in no time. Then Chu Li would know and rush over. How far do you think Chu Li will be? Lu Zhongjun asked. Logically speaking, he should have gone back for a day and will only be able to arrive tomorrow, Lu Guangdi said. However, his light body technique is amazing, so he might arrive soon. Lu Zhongjun slowly nodded as he thought about how to deal with Chu Li. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of the two of them. It was like a phantom that slowly solidified. It was Chu Li. His white robe fluttered as he gave a fist salute to Lu Guangdi. Brother Lu, why are you calling me so soon? Is there any danger? He turned to look at Lu Zhongjun. Lu Zhongjun's handsome face was solemn, but his heart was in awe. He realized that he had underestimated Chu Li. He did not expect Chu Li to have such an amazing martial art. It was similar to the legendary light body technique. Lu Guangdi scoffed. You've been following me in secret, haven't you? Chu Li smiled and nodded. Before I meet Senior Lu, I don't dare to leave. He gave Lu Zhongjun a fist salute. I've long heard of Senior Lu's name. It's my honor to finally meet you. Lu Zhongjun asked, why do you want to meet me? I want to learn a thing or two from Senior Lu. Chu Li smiled. I heard that Green Deer Cliff's martial arts are unique. How dare you? Lu Zhongjun scoffed. He suddenly glanced at Lu Guangdi and changed his mind. He said coldly, all right, I'll fulfill your wish. Let's go to the beach. All right, please, Chu Li said. Lu Zhongjun picked up Lu Guangdi and left through the window. Chu Li followed closely behind. The three of them arrived at an empty beach. The tide had receded, revealing the wide beach. Since it was evening, the sea was dyed red by the sunlight. It looked like thousands of golden snakes were swimming in the sea. Chapter 1185. Lu Zhongjun realized that he could not underestimate the young fella in front of him. After all, Yangming's reputation was not obtained by luck. Yangming's light body technique was amazing, and with his profound cultivation level, Lu Zhongjun had to be careful not to fail miserably. Lu Guangdi stood far away. Grandmasters were able to release their inner energy externally, and it was extremely powerful. To a normal person, it would be a disaster. Senior Lu, do you know Xiao Yueling? Chu Li asked. Lu Zhongjun uttered, of course I do. I also know that she's the daughter of the first wife of the house of Haiduk. She's your aunt, right? Exactly. Chu Li smiled and said, that's why we're all considered a family. We're only sparring and not fighting with our lives. That's true. Lu Zhongjun nodded with a smile. Don't worry, I won't harm your life. I'll only cripple your martial arts. An eye for an eye, what do you think? Chu Li smiled. If that's the case, I won't be able to keep my martial arts, as long as you understand. Lu Zhongjun responded, if it wasn't for Moon Spirit, I would have killed you right away. Why would I waste my breath talking to you? Chu Li sighed. All right, if you want to cripple my martial arts, then it'll depend on Senior Lu's capabilities. Please. He unsheathed his sword and pointed it at Lu Zhongjun. Lu Zhongjun scoffed. Make your move. Chu Li thrust his sword forward like a flash of lightning and appeared in front of Lu Zhongjun in an instant. Lu Zhongjun nimbly avoided the sword light and flicked his finger. Chu Li moved sideways to avoid the finger force. However, this finger force could make a turn. After dodging it, it would immediately turn back. It was soundless, and it was impossible to guard against it. However, Chu Li's omniscient mirror was able to see the finger energy clearly. After calmly dodging it, he thrust his sword forward at an incredible speed. When Lu Zhengjun saw that Chu Li was able to avoid the finger force, he switched to a fist technique. His fists were like bronze hammers as he punched Chu Li's longsword accurately. After a while, Chu Li could not take it anymore. "Senior Lu, what fist technique is this?" Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "Mighty Demon Fist." Chu Li asked, "Is it the antique study of Green Deer Cliff?" "You haven't seen the Green Deer Cliff's ultimate study," Lu Zhengjun responded. "Based on your current abilities, you won't be able to see it." Chu Li's sword gleamed brightly. "Senior, what do you think of this sword?" The speed of his sword abruptly sped up, surpassing the speed of the Herculean Demon Fist. The Herculean Demon Fist was powerful, but it was a little slow and clumsy. Under normal circumstances, one would not be able to see its weakness, but once it went up against Chu Li's fast sword technique, it seemed even slower. "All right." Lu Zhengjun grunted. All of a sudden, his body was as light as a white crane. When the tip of Yangming's sword was thrust forward, Lu Zhengjun retreated along with the tip of Yangming's sword and maintained a 1-meter distance from it. Chu Li frowned, and the speed of his sword increased. On the other hand, Lu Zhengjun seemed to be weightless. No matter how fast Chu Li's sword was, Lu Zhengjun would always move with the sword. When the sword advanced, he would retreat. When the sword retreated, he would advance. Chu Li had never seen an antique study like this before. He asked in surprise, "What martial art is this?" "Dancing crane technique," Lu Zhengjun answered. While Chu Li was withdrawing his sword, Lu Zhengjun suddenly shot out a few fingers at the same time. Each finger force could bend, so it was impossible to defend against it. Chu Li appeared behind him in a flash and completely escaped the finger force's range. Then he stabbed his sword at Lu Zhengjun's back. Ding! Lu Zhengjun suddenly turned around and bounced toward the sword. With that, Chu Li felt his entire body go numb as if he was electrocuted. Chu Li was shocked as he suddenly recalled the scene when he fought with a master from Haizong Mountain. He suffered a huge loss there, and it was because of this force that he received. It was as if he was struck by lightning, and he instantly stopped moving. It was the effect of the petrifying finger. Bang! Lu Zhengjun appeared in front of Chu Li in a flash. Before Chu Li could react, Lu Zhengjun struck Chu Li's abdomen with his palm. Chu Li was sent flying, and blood spurted out from his mouth as he fell to the ground. Lu Zhengjun shook his head and smiled. Chu Li's martial art was crippled by that palm. Just as Chu Li was about to hit the ground, he suddenly let out a long roar. Then his body suddenly expanded as if he was filled with air. Then he shot out like an arrow and disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Hurry up and kill him," Lu Guangdi yelled. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "Forget it. I've already crippled his martial art. Take this opportunity to kill him. Why don't you hurry up and kill him?" Lu Guangdi yelled anxiously. Lu Zhengjun replied, "His martial art is already crippled. Isn't it easy to kill him? We can kill him at any time. He's very cunning. He might even escape," Lu Guangdi said. Lu Zhengjun asked, "Does he have a primary heaven pill that can instantly restore his martial art?" "Of course not." Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Zhengjun said, "Then when you've recovered your martial art, just kill him." "You're forcing me to consume the primary heaven pill." Lu Guangdi glared at him. "If you want to enter Green Deer Cliff, You can't consume the primary heaven pill. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. You only have one enemy. If he dies, you won't have any motivation to improve yourself. If you keep him alive, you'll work even harder for your revenge. Why can't I consume the primary heaven pill? Lu Guangdi asked unhappily. He wanted nothing more than to recover his martial art and hunt down Chu Li. He wanted to torture him, make him wish he was dead, and then kill him. When he thought of this, his blood began to boil. He wanted nothing more than to catch up to Chu Li. Lu Zhengjun said, "Those who are not disciples of Green Deer Cliff, and no martial art cannot enter Green Deer Cliff. This is Green Deer Cliff's rule. Even if you're my son, you can't violate it." "Fine," Lu Guangdi said bitterly. "Then how do you want me to take revenge?" "Once you enter Green Deer Cliff, consume the primary heaven pill, and cultivate a few mystical techniques there. It'll be a piece of cake for you to take care of Chu Li. Moreover, his martial arts has already been crippled. By the time he recovers, your martial arts will have improved tremendously, and you'll have mastered the mystical technique." Lu Zhengjun uttered. "If you can't take revenge under such circumstances, don't bother. Don't worry, I'll definitely get my revenge." Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Zhengjun nodded. "That's good. Take a good rest. We'll leave tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Lu Guangdi frowned. Lu Zhengjun said, "Once you've mastered your martial art in Green Deer Cliff, you can come back anytime. No one will force you." "All right." Lu Guangdi firmly nodded. His original awkwardness had been washed away by Chu Li. In front of Chu Li's revenge, his grudge with Lu Zhengjun did not seem that important anymore. He wanted to enter Green Deer Cliff, recover his martial art, cultivate his mystical techniques, and teach Chu Li a lesson. Under the hazy night sky, Lu Guangdi slowly walked on the beach. The moonlight was cold, and the sound of the waves crashing against the beach calmed his heart. He walked along the beach step by step. He suddenly had to leave, and his heart was filled with reluctance. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind him. With a palm strike, the two of them disappeared together. The next moment, he suddenly reappeared and continued to walk along the beach. This time, he had been replaced by Chu Li. Chu Li had concealed all of his martial arts. It was as if his martial art had been crippled. He was already very familiar with this. Just like when he went to the Imperial Mausoleum, he was able to hide it from everyone. He calmly walked, then turned around and walked back. Finally, he returned to his room and lay on his bed to sleep. Chapter 1186. The next morning, Chu Li had yet to wake up. Due to his weak state, he could not sleep well. This was the state of having his martial arts crippled. His face was pale, and he was lazing around in bed. Someone knocked on the door, and Lu Zhengjun's voice came from outside. "We should move." Chu Li responded coldly, and got up to put on his clothes. Chu Li did not hate Lu Zhengjun too much. Even if Lu Zhengjun wanted to cripple his martial arts, he did not hesitate to kill Lu Guangdi. Chu Li kept Lu Guangdi back to Tide Listening Pavilion because he wanted to observe his behavior. He was afraid that he would give himself away when he reunited with Lu Zhengjun. No matter how powerful his heavenly demonic power was, he could not be too careless. After all, Lu Zhengjun was not someone to be trifled with. Chu Li secretly observed Lu Guangdi for a few days and had a clear understanding of him. Fortunately, Lu Zhengjun did not spend time with his son every day, so he was not very clear about some details. Since that was the case, Lu Guangdi was useless. Keeping him alive would only bring trouble. Thus, Chu Li decided to kill him and bury him somewhere without anyone knowing. When he put on his clothes and left the house, Lu Zhengjun was already standing outside. He frowned as he looked at him. Lu Zhengjun faintly felt that something was different. It was an indescribable feeling. Although Chu Li's words and actions were exactly the same as Lu Guangdi's, this was the result of Chu Li's careful observation. Nonetheless, he could not completely hide it from a top-notch master like Lu Zhengjun. Chu Li was slightly nervous, but quickly calmed down. He said lazily and impatiently, "Why are you leaving so early? We're not in a hurry, anyway." Lu Zhengjun said, "It's best to return early." "Humph," Chu Li sneered. "Do you want to see your children early?" Lu Zhengjun said impatiently, "If you want to live comfortably in Green Deer Cliff, don't provoke them." "Then they better not provoke me," Chu Li said impatiently. "If they provoke me, I won't go easy on them." "Then you're in for a hard time." Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "But don't worry, they can't be bothered with you. They have their own things to do. Do you still want breakfast? I want to say goodbye to Master and Master's seniors." "Don't bother. It's not like you're not coming back. I'll be back in less than a year. You still have to say hello. Let's go." Lu Zhengjun had no other choice. He lifted Chu Li's shoulder and left Tide Listening Pavilion like a gust of wind, ignoring Chu Li's struggles and shouts. Soon enough, they were 50 miles away, but they did not stop to rest. In the end, Chu Li stopped resisting and closed his eyes, not saying a word. Lu Zhengjun was not bothered at all. He said gently, "Chu Li's martial art is indeed superb. If you don't cultivate, well, you won't be able to defeat him." "His martial arts have been crippled," Chu Li said snappily. Lu Zhengjun asked, "What if he recovers? He was a cultivation genius. If you don't want to be defeated by him again, then train hard." "I know, I don't need you. Guy back." Pitter-patter Lu Zhengjun shook his head, but did not blame him. They continued their journey. His speed was incomparably fast, as if he had an endless amount of inner strength, and he kept rushing forward. The location of Green Deer Cliff had always been a mystery. Chu Li did not expect Green Deer Cliff to be located on an island in the middle of the sea. Without Lu Zhengjun's guidance, no one would have thought of it, and they would not have been able to find the way. Lu Zhengjun found a small boat and sailed on it despite the strong wind. After a day's journey, they arrived at an island. This small island was like a giant turtle floating on the surface of the sea, faintly swimming about. The sea was vast, and the small island was lush and full of life. Chu Li could already feel the dense spiritual energy from afar. Although the spiritual energy here was far from that of 100,000 Hills, it was abundant and far better than the outside world. Moreover, this was only because of the distance. If they entered the island, the spiritual energy would be even more abundant. Lu Zhengjun steered the boat closer to the small island and crashed into a towering reef. The scene before his eyes changed as the small island was suddenly in the other direction. It was initially in the east, but it was now in the west, and they were a few miles apart. Chu Li smiled. This was clearly the power of a formation. He did not make a fuss because it was natural for the four major sects to be protected by a formation. He would only be surprised if there was no formation. Lu Zhengjun drove the small boat at an unusually fast speed. The boat rushed to the west, and when they got closer, they realized that it was a rock island. There was nothing on the island other than bare rocks, and they could see everything in one glance. Chu Li knew that the island was still under a formation, and it was still an eyesore. After a brief moment, the small boat passed between two reefs. It was a close call, and the scene in front of them changed again. Another lush and lively island appeared in front of them. This time, the island had become a giant, which was 10 times the size of the previous island. The island had pavilions and pavilions with richly ornamented beams and painted rafters, and it was overflowing with an ancient vibe. At the easternmost part of the island was a towering cliff that looked like a sword that was stabbed into the sky. From afar, Chuli could hear the sound of bamboo flute. It was quiet and serene, and it made one feel peaceful. Chuli was stunned because the island was shrouded in a faint layer of golden light. He was very familiar with this layer of golden light, as he had experienced it in the Titanium Temple. Within the golden light, all divine powers were rendered useless. Lu Zhengjun looked at Chu Li and said gently, "Don't talk too much when you're on the island." Chu Li looked at the big island blankly. Lu Zhengjun looked at him and smiled. At the end of the day, Chu Li had not seen much of the world. Although Tide Listening Pavilion was quiet, it was not suitable for young people to stay in. Being ignorant and inexperienced would inevitably limit one's horizons. The small boat continued to approach them, and they boarded a pier. After walking for 100 meters, they entered the island, and it was as warm as spring. Two handsome young men in green robes greeted them with fist salutes. "Masters Junior Lu, this is my son who was stranded outside, Lu Guangdi." Lu Zhengjun said, "His martial arts has been crippled, so I'm planning to help him build his foundation at Green Deer Cliff so that he can cultivate again." "Yes, please follow us." The two handsome young men responded respectfully and brought them to a basilica. The basilica was empty. There was no one there. A handsome young man pulled on a jade tray next to him, and a clear sound was heard. Soon, footsteps were heard, and 4 middle-aged men arrived. When they saw Lu Zhengjun, they were stunned. A middle-aged man with a round face smiled. "Junior brother Lu, what are you—" "I'm bringing my son to the island." Lu Zhengjun scoffed. The middle-aged man, and the other 3 men looked at Chu Li and smiled with complicated expressions. "Looks like he's a talented man. Why was his martial arts crippled? Junior brother Lu, you crippled his martial arts just to let him enter the island." "No," Lu Zhengjun scoffed. "He was crippled by someone else." "Oh, who's so daring to provoke him?" "Chu Li, this young fella." The middle-aged man with a round face laughed. "He's famous now. It's like a reincarnation cycle. It's the same situation as you, Junior brother Lu. Will he end up the same way?" Lu Zhengjun's face darkened. The other 3 men glared at the middle-aged man. Lu Zhengjun scoffed. "Based on the Tempest Temple's strength, Chu Li's ending won't be any different. Besides, I've crippled his martial arts." "Hee, Junior brother Lu, you're so cruel." The middle-aged man laughed. Chapter 1187. Yes, let's get down to business. The round-faced man chuckled. "Junior brother Lu, sorry to offend you." "It's nothing." Lu Zhengjun scoffed. He turned to look at Chu Li. "Guangdi, these master seniors want to see if you have martial arts from other sections. Just relax. Don't worry." "Yes." Chu Li nodded. The 4 middle-aged men surrounded Chu Li. "Give me your hand." The round-faced man smiled. "Give me both hands." "Young fella, you're quite lucky." Chu Li glared at him coldly and scoffed without saying a word. "Oh, you have the demeanor of Junior brother Lu. You have quite a temper." The round-faced man laughed. The other 3 shook their heads and laughed too. They looked like they were in their 40s, but they were actually older than Lu Zhengjun. They were almost 200 years old, so they looked at Chu Li as if he was a child. They did not care about what Chu Li thought. Chu Li extended his hands, but he was still a little nervous. He did not know if the life and death scripture would be able to deceive them. To be safe, he should really cripple his martial arts and then use the Earth Matrix and reincarnation scripture to recover. Actually, it would not take long. but he was still very confident in the life and death scripture, and felt that he could deceive them. Even if he could not fool them, he could just run. The two of them placed their hands on his wrists, and a clear stream of energy flowed into his body, slowly flowing along his entire body, to every part of his body, neither too fast nor too slow, and abnormally careful. After a quarter of an hour, the two of them released their hands, and the other two placed their hands on his wrists again. Two streams of scorching chi slowly entered his body, probing bit by bit. The cold and hot chi were different from ordinary inner energy. After 15 minutes, the two of them let go too. The four of them looked at each other and nodded. The round-faced, middle-aged man smiled and said, "Junior brother Lou, congratulations. Your aptitude is really not bad. It's a pity that you should have entered the cliff directly when you were young. I guess your achievements now are even better than Tianxing's." The taller man nodded. His meridians are thick and wide, and his organs are tough. His body is stronger than expected. Junior brother Lou, which sect was he in before this? Tide Listening Pavilion, Lu Zhengjun answered. Tide Listening Pavilion. The four of them pondered for a moment before nodding. Tide Listening Pavilion could be considered somewhat famous among the sects, but compared to Green Deer Cliff, the difference was like the difference between the heavens and the earth. This little fellow is indeed a genius to have reached such a level in the Tide Listening Pavilion. The tall middle-aged man sighed and shook his head. Junior brother Lou, you've delayed him. Now that things have come to this, train him well. That's the only way. Lu Zhengjun nodded. Chu Li saw that they were a little regretful and showed a look of disapproval. Naturally, his expression could not be hidden from the crowd. The round-faced, middle-aged man smiled and said, "Little fellow, now that you are here, you can only be an outer cliff disciple. You cannot become an inner cliff disciple. You can forget about learning some truly powerful martial arts. It's not like Green Deer Cliff is the only one in the world." Chu Li scoffed. "Ha ha." The round-faced, middle-aged man laughed and said, "Little guy at your age, it's useless for you to join any sect. Even if you become a monk, you won't be able to enter the inner sect. Your achievements in life will be limited." That's not necessarily true. Chu Li was unconvinced. The key isn't the martial arts. It's the people who practice it. You're ambitious. The tall, middle-aged man nodded. That's right. No matter how powerful a martial art is, it's useless if the person who practices it doesn't succeed. No matter how ordinary a martial art is, it'll be powerful if it's cultivated to a high level. Work hard and don't miss this opportunity. Others won't have this opportunity, but you're already very lucky. Yes. Chu Li fist saluted. The round-faced, middle-aged man smiled. If there's anything you don't understand, you can come and ask us. Hurry up and thank Master Senior Chun. Lu Zhengjun scoffed. Chu Li fist saluted. Thank you, Master Senior Chun. The round-faced, middle-aged man waved his hand. It's a small matter. You may enter the abode now. Lu Zhengjun scoffed. Thank you, senior brothers. We'll follow the rules too, but you must explain the rules to the little fellow. He can't just barge in, the tall middle-aged man said. Lu Zhengjun nodded. He brought Chu Li out of the basilica and walked along a cobblestone path. Soon enough, they entered a lush forest and arrived in front of a row of wooden houses. There were a total of 10 wooden houses. The empty space in front of the houses was a small martial arts field that was paved with blue sand. 3 young men were practicing on the field. One was practicing with a sword while the other 2 were practicing with palm strikes. Their movements were vigorous and powerful. Chu Li glanced at the 3 of them. They were practicing different martial arts, but their techniques were exquisite. It was not an ordinary martial art. This is the outer courtyard. Lu Zhengjun pointed at the 10 wooden houses. From today onward, you're not allowed to leave this forest. Why? Chu Li frowned. What happens if I leave the forest? This forest is where the outer cliff disciples stay. Lu Zhengjun explained. Once you leave the forest, you'll be an inner cliff disciple. Once an outer cliff disciple leaves, he'll be chased out of Green Deer Cliff and will never be able to return. How long do I have to stay? Chu Li asked. As they spoke, they pushed open the door to one of the wooden houses. It was clean and tidy with a bed, a table, and a bed. The bedding was neatly arranged, and there was a vase with a wild flower on the table that gave off a faint fragrance. Lu Zhengjun explained, "You can stay as long as you want, but you'll need to exchange for martial arts secret manuals with enough merit points. With enough merit points, you'll be able to see all kinds of martial arts secret manuals and cultivate them. Once you start cultivating, you'll be able to go to the basilica to seek guidance from someone." Merit points? Chu Li frowned. Lu Zhengjun explained, "It's contribution points. There'll be some mundane matters that need to be taken care of within the cliff. Outer cliff disciples can take on these mundane matters on their own, and each matter will be marked with merit points." "What about inner cliff disciples?" Chu Li asked. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "Inner cliff disciples don't have that. I can cultivate any secret manual." Chu Li asked. Lu Zhengjun nodded. Chu Li scoffed. "The difference in status is huge. Inner cliff disciples have been living on the island since they were young, and the island is their home. On the other hand, outer cliff disciples joined halfway, so they might not be loyal." Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "This is Green Deer Cliff's rule. Don't think about changing it, just follow it." Chu Li asked, "Why didn't I join Green Deer Cliff when I was young?" Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "You're not qualified enough." Chu Li frowned. Lu Zhengjun explained, "You're qualified enough now, but you weren't in the past, or I would have brought you here." Chu Li nodded helplessly. His current body was far better than Lu Guangdi's. The heavenly demonic power had improved his body a lot, and he was also modified by many spirit pills. His qualifications were naturally shocking. "All right, you can choose now. What martial arts do you want to cultivate?" Lu Zhengjun asked. "If you can't think of anything, you can refer to the Secret Manuals catalog." Chapter 1188. Lu Zhengjun was stunned and frowned. Spirit crane technique. Chu Li asked, "Can I cultivate it?" "No." Lu Zhengjun shook his head. "It's the fundamental heart technique of Green Deer Cliff, and it's also the foundation technique for inner cliff disciples. Outer cliff disciples can't cultivate it, so you better give up." Chu Li was displeased. Green Deer Cliff's best technique is the spirit crane technique, right? What's the point of joining Green Deer Cliff if I can't cultivate it? Who said that Green Deer Cliff's best technique is the spirit crane technique? Lu Zhengjun responded snappily. "The spirit crane technique is useless now, so inner cliff disciples have no choice but to cultivate it, or they won't be able to master the later martial arts. The spirit crane technique is used to build the foundation, and the dance of the cranes at the ninth heaven is above it. The depth of the spirit crane technique doesn't matter, but it's the introductory technique to the dance of the cranes at the ninth heaven. Most disciples stop after mastering the first level of the spirit crane technique. But the spirit crane technique is the most famous," Chu Li said. Lu Zhengjun explained. "In ancient times, the spirit crane technique was famous and powerful, but the spiritual energy in the world is scarce now. The spirit crane technique needs to be cultivated with spiritual energy, and it can't be cultivated without abundant spiritual energy. That's why none of the disciples on the island have surpassed the third level of the spirit crane technique. You should find another martial art to cultivate. What martial art did you use to suppress Chu Li? Chu Li asked. It was strange for him to say his own name, but fortunately it was not his first time, so he did not give himself away. Philip Swift Thunder. You want to cultivate that? Lu Zhengjun asked. Yes. Chu Li nodded. He felt that it could complement the petrifying finger, and the combination of the two would be even more powerful. Philip Swift Thunder isn't easy to cultivate. Lu Zhengjun frowned. All right, I'll pass it to you, but it'll depend on your luck whether you can cultivate it or not. The island has abundant spiritual energy, so your progress in martial arts is several times faster than the outside world. You can cultivate Philip Swift Thunder while recovering your martial arts. All right. Chu Li nodded. But I want to cultivate the spirit crane technique. Why do you want to cultivate the spirit crane technique? Lu Zhengjun frowned. Tell me, I won't harm you. Chu Li said, I heard that one can become an enlightened master by cultivating the four spirit beast techniques. Lu Zhengjun looked at him in shock. Chu Li asked, Is it wrong? So, you want to cultivate the spirit crane technique. Then gather the other three techniques? Lu Zhengjun asked. Chu Li nodded slowly. You. Lu Zhengjun looked at him with a complicated expression and sighed. I really don't know what to say about you. Do you have an exaggerated opinion of your own abilities, or do you have great ambitions? His expression became much gentler, and he no longer looked impatient. Chu Li said, I want to become an enlightened master, or else what's the point of living my life in vain? Lu Zhengjun nodded. Chu Li's words resonated deeply with him. Lu Zhengjun was planning to defy nature and become a god too. He was also secretly looking for the other three spirit beast heart techniques, but he did not make much progress. He could not enter Goddess Attraction Mountain no matter what, so he gave up and planned to look for the spirit snake transformation technique. He did not make much progress with the other two spirit beast heart techniques either. These heart methods were often kept secret. The current era wasn't like the ancient era, when spiritual beast heart methods were prevalent. They didn't keep their secrets to themselves, exchanging information with each other. You learn from me, I learn from you, everyone becoming heavenly deities together. Now that spiritual energy was scarce, heart techniques declined, but they became more precious. The atmosphere in ancient times changed, and the sects became stricter, which resulted in the current situation where heart techniques were hard to find. The path to becoming a god was said to defy nature, not only the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but the hearts of people were also trying to stop it. It was extremely difficult. Chu Li asked, Can I really not cultivate the spirit crane technique? You can't. Lu Zhengjun sighed. Although you're my son, the martial arts of Green Deer Cliff's inner cliff can't be privately taught, even if you're father and son. If not only will I be out of luck, but you'll be out of luck too. None of us will be able to escape. All right. Chu Li responded lazily. Then I'll cultivate Philip Swift Thunder first. I'll give you the secret manual later. Lu Zhengjun said, Cultivate well here and get rid of all distracting thoughts. Yes, Chu Li replied. Lu Zhengjun fluttered away, while Chu Li went to the small martial arts field outside. The three men who were cultivating came over curiously. The three young men were about the same age as him. One was fat and tall, one was thin and short, and the last one was of medium height, well-proportioned, and handsome. Brother, Are you an outer cliff disciple too? The thin and short young man smiled. I'm Hishu, this is Zhangya, and this is Sunjia. We're all outer cliff disciples, so we'll be working together from now on. He had a friendly and easygoing smile as he pointed at the tall, fat man and the handsome young man. Chu Li fist saluted. Lu Guangdi, Master Senior Lu, is your... Hishu smiled. I'm his illegitimate son. Chu Li answered honestly. That's Master Senior Lu. The tall, fat man exclaimed. You're Master Senior Lu's son. Sigh, you reincarnated into a good family. I'm so jealous. Chu Li scoffed. If I reincarnated into a good family, why would I be an illegitimate son? Being an illegitimate son is better than us. The handsome Sun Jia smiled. With Master Senior Lu as your support, your path will be much smoother. You might even be promoted to the inner cliff. Promoted to the inner cliff? Chu Li asked. Of course. Sun Jia answered. If your martial arts surpass your peers in the inner cliff, you'll naturally become an inner cliff disciple. If you make enough contributions, you'll be promoted to the inner cliff too. Isn't that making things difficult for me? Chu Li scoffed. The tall fat man, Zhangya, quickly nodded. That's right, the inner cliff disciples cultivate the same martial arts as us. Besides, they have the help of spirit pills. So, it's completely different. It's wishful thinking to surpass them. What if we have a fortuitous encounter and really surpass them? Hishu laughed. You have to dream. Chu Li realized that the three of them were easygoing and not scheming at all. Perhaps it was because of Lu Zhengjun, or perhaps because Green Deer Cliff was strict in selecting disciples. Even outer cliff disciples had to have a good temperament. Lu Zhengjun returned in no time. He waved at the three of them and waved at Chu Li before entering the wooden hut. He took out a silk booklet and handed it to Chu Li. This is Philip Swift Thunder. Memorize it first before you cultivate it. Chu Li took the booklet and was secretly delighted, one page after another. He flipped through 38 pages in one go before he finished reading the secret booklet. He looked up at Lu Zhengjun. Lu Zhengjun asked, Do you find it complicated? Chu Li nodded. There were a total of 6 levels in the booklet. The heart technique for each level was complicated, and the channeling routes were complicated. Chu Li was lucky that he was the only one who could read it. Anyone else would feel dizzy after reading it once. You need to be patient and calm down to cultivate this. Lu Zhengjun said gently, Calmness gives birth to thunder. This sentence contains the principle of heaven and earth. Take your time to understand. Calmness is the first technique of Philip Swift Thunder. Chu Li kept the secret booklet. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. Memorize it now. Memorize the first level first. I'll bring it back when you've mastered the first level, and you can memorize the second level. Chapter 1189. After he left, Chu Li was not in a hurry to cultivate. Instead, he went out again to talk to Hishu and the other two. He found out from them that the outer cliff did not seem big. There was only a forest and 10 houses, but it was actually not small at all. The forest was dense and vast, and it felt like there was no end to it. Only by following a special footwork could one reach the pier by the sea. They cultivated or relaxed in the forest, but they could not reach the end even if they walked for a day. Chu Li understood that it was because of the formation. Ever since he stepped into this place and activated the omniscient mirror, he could not spread it further. He could only see the forest and could not see the situation outside, as if it was blocked by something invisible. Chu Li frowned. He had a feeling that this was normal. It was the effect of the heaven and God pill that prevented him from prying. Therefore, his previous plan was in vain. Man proposes, God disposes. Without the heaven and God pill, he could not pry into other people's cultivation through the omniscient mirror. He could only concentrate on the outer cliff and could not pry into the spirit crane technique. He was disappointed and helpless. No matter how brave he was, he would not dare to rush into the island to snatch the secret manual. Even heavenly demonic sect had their own sect guarding technique, let alone Green Deer Cliff. They must be able to restrain enlightened masters, or they would have been destroyed long ago. Even enlightened masters could suppress them, let alone him. Therefore, he could not force his way in, so he could only use his wits. Now, he had found a way to enter the inner cliff. He had a clean family background in Green Deer Cliff. Once his martial arts were strong enough, it was not impossible for him to enter the inner cliff. The top disciple of this generation was Zhao Tianxing. Zhao Tianxing's cultivation level was not top-notch, so Chu Li could definitely defeat him. Although he did not know if Zhao Tianxing would work hard and advance to a higher realm, he was quite confident. For the next few days, Chu Li immersed himself in cultivating Philip Swift Thunder without eating or sleeping. The channeling route of Philip Swift Thunder was complicated and required a good memory. Chu Li was like a fish in water when he cultivated this heart technique. It was a great advantage, even though it was complicated and exhausting. Ordinary people would often feel dizzy after cultivating it, once lose their energy or lack of inner energy. His cultivation recovered by leaps and bounds, and his Philip Swift Thunder also improved by leaps and bounds. Every 3 days, Lu Zhengjun would come over to check on Chu Li. Lu Zhengjun was very happy with Chu Li's progress. Moreover, Chu Li, who was disguised as Lu Guangdi, had the ambition to become an enlightened master. So Lu Zhengjun treated him even better and personally guided him in his cultivation of Philip Swift Thunder. With his personal guidance, Chu Li was able to cultivate even faster. Lu Zhengjun was even more surprised when he saw how fast Chu Li progressed and how talented he was. He felt that Chu Li had surpassed his master. Lu Zhengjun might not be able to become an enlightened master, but his illegitimate son might not be able to. In the evening, Lu Zhengjun visited again, and the two of them had dinner at a stone table in the forest. Lu Zhengjun had brought quite a lot of delicious food over. As Chu Li ate, he sighed to himself. He was ashamed of himself. However, when he thought about Lu Guangdi's temperament, he did not feel that guilty. Can I become an inner cliff disciple? Chu Li put down his chopsticks and took a sip of wine. Lu Zhengjun frowned. You want to enter the inner cliff? Yes. Chu Li nodded. I want to cultivate the spirit crane technique. You should know that although inner cliff disciples can cultivate more advanced martial arts, they have less freedom. Lu Zhengjun continued. It might seem like outer cliff disciples are at a disadvantage, but they're free. They can leave and come back whenever they want. I want to cultivate the spirit crane technique, Chu Li said. Lu Zhengjun stared at him and sensed Chu Li's determination. Do you really want the spirit crane technique that much? Yes, I must cultivate the spirit crane technique. All right, I'll think of a way to help you. Lu Zhengjun nodded. It was rare for one of his children to be so ambitious to become an enlightened master, so he decided to do his best to help him. Chu Li did a fist salute and did not say anything else. Lu Zhengjun said, Focus on your cultivation. I'll help you. You don't have to worry about anything else. Chu Li nodded. Lu Zhengjun finished the wine in his glass and left in a hurry. Chu Li frowned and sighed. It seemed like the grudge between him and Lu Zhengjun would not be easily resolved. Not only did Lu Zhengjun cripple Lu Zhengjun's cultivation, but there would also be other grudges after Chu Li accepted Lu Zhengjun's help. Chu Li would have to settle the grudges in the future. The next morning, Chu Li was cultivating Philip Swift Thunder. Lu Zhengjun pushed the door open and hurried in. He placed a finger-long square box on Yangming's bed. "Eat it." Chu Li opened his eyes and looked at Lu Zhengjun in confusion, then lowered his head to look at the exquisite box. It was obvious that it contained something extraordinary. "Primary heaven pill," Lu Zhengjun said. Chu Li was stunned, then he was overjoyed. "Primary heaven pill really exists. Quickly eat it," Lu Zhengjun said. "Then your martial arts will recover, and you can cultivate Philip Swift Thunder." "All right," Chu Li agreed and opened the box. He suddenly looked up at Lu Zhengjun. "You didn't steal it, did you?" Lu Zhengjun glared at him. When Chu Li opened the box, he saw a pill the size of a longan sealed in beeswax. It seemed to be faintly shining. He picked it up without hesitation, crushed the beeswax, and threw it into his mouth. The pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth and turned into a clear stream of energy. After circulating in his organs, it went into his dantian. Then there was a boom, as if thunder had exploded in his ears. Amidst the rumbling sound, his body trembled as if thunder had turned into life, and life began to flow in heaven and earth. Following that, boundless inner energy was produced in his dantian and flowed through his body over and over again. The inner energy in his dantian seemed to be inexhaustible as it kept washing through his body. Over and over again, his inner energy kept growing. In the end, his inner energy recovered and became even stronger. He let out a long howl that shook the entire forest, and the wooden houses seemed to be shaking as well. However, the people outside the forest could not hear his howl. Only the people in the other 3 wooden houses heard it, and they could not help but come out of their houses to the martial arts field to look at Chu Li's wooden house. Chu Li opened his eyes abruptly. His eyes glowed as if 2 sword lights were shot out. Lu Zhengjun nodded in satisfaction. "Very good. Your inner energy has recovered. Cultivate Philip Swift Thunderwell." "Yes." Chu Li fist saluted. Lu Zhengjun stood up and left. Chu Li sat on his bed and continued to cultivate Philip Swift Thunder. With abundant inner energy, Philip Swift Thunder advanced by leaps and bounds. In the blink of an eye, it broke through the 2nd level and advanced to the 3rd level. Then it broke through the 3rd level in one go and arrived at the 4th level. The 4th level of Philip Swift Thunder's heart technique was getting harder. The 4th level of the heart technique was difficult, not only because the route was complicated, but more importantly, some of the meridians and acupuncture points that had not passed through inner energy were like walking on a swamp. One had to walk step by step slowly and could not go fast. Opening up these routes required tyrannical mental strength. Otherwise, one would fall into a trance after just a few steps. Only a strong mental strength could move forward bravely. Only by constantly pushing forward would one not shrink back or hesitate, nor would one become stagnant. When Lu Zhengjun came the next evening, Chu Li was still cultivating Philip Swift Thunder. Chapter 1190. Chu Li opened his eyes and looked at him. Good. Lu Zhengjun looked at him in disbelief. "I didn't expect you to be a genius. I wasn't mistaken." Chu Li looked at him coldly. "It's a pity that I didn't cultivate to the 6th level. It's already extremely fast." Lu Zhengjun waved his hand. "Philip Swift Thunder is too powerful, and the backlash is too strong. You mustn't force it. If you feel like it's too much, you should stop to prevent yourself from going astray." Chu Li nodded. "If I cultivate Philip Swift Thunder, can I enter the inner cliff?" You're almost there. Lu Zhengjun pondered. From what I know, Zhao Tianqing cultivated the dancing crane ninth heaven technique, and his swordsmanship is exquisite too. Your Philip Swift Thunder can catch him off guard, but you'll need other martial arts to conceal it. Swordsmanship. Chu Li frowned. Swordsmanship was the easiest way to conceal Philip Swift Thunder. When one's opponent attacked with a sword, one would usually guess how one's sword would react and would neglect how one's hand should move. If one suddenly flicked the sword, one would easily be hit. Swordsmanship is fine too, Lu Zhengjun pondered. But swordsmanship is hard to learn and mastery. Blade techniques are faster. Swordsmanship, Chu Li replied. All right, what swordsmanship do you want to cultivate? It's best if it's fast and can kill in one hit. In my opinion, it's the opposite. You should cultivate something complicated and exquisite. I'll choose a set of swordsmanship for you. Lu Zhengjun pondered. Cultivate Philip Swift Thunder to the 6th level first, then cultivate swordsmanship. Chu Li nodded. For the next 2 days, Chu Li cultivated Philip Swift Thunder diligently. Lu Zhengjun did not disturb him, so he successfully reached the 6th level. Philip Swift Thunder was extremely powerful. One hit was enough to numb one's body and cause one to lose control for a moment. Chu Li sighed to himself. The power of Philip Swift Thunder was similar to that of Heaven's Thunder Palm, but the paths taken by Heaven's Thunder Palm and Philip Swift Thunder did not overlap in any way. He was secretly surprised, as he initially thought that Philip Swift Thunder and Heaven's Thunder Palm should be somewhat similar, but in the end, there was nothing in common between the two. Chu Li would leave the wooden house at night and appear at the High Duke's public house. He would hug his beauty, Shao Qi, and then return to the wooden house in the morning to cultivate and meditate. Even so, his progress was extremely fast. If Yangming was not afraid of arousing Lu Zhengjun's suspicion, he would have mastered Philip Swift Thunder. Early in the morning, Lu Zhengjun gave Yangming a secret manual. It was the great heaven-deriving sword technique. This set of sword techniques was meticulous and detailed. The sword strikes were like an inescapable net that covered every inch of space, and all directions were taken into consideration. Every sword strike required great effort, and one sword was connected to the other in a continuous manner, just like a game of chess. Chu Li was very interested in this sword manual. He felt that it had opened a new window for him. It was particularly novel and interesting. He had seen this kind of sword technique before, but none of them were as detailed as this one. If he could fuse the great heaven-deriving sword with his current sword technique, the power of his sword momentum would be even stronger. The great heaven-deriving sword technique and the formation were slightly compatible with his manifestation of nature restoration, as if they contained the mysteries of heaven and earth. I think you're suited to this type of sword technique. Very few people cultivate the great heaven-deriving sword technique because it's too complicated. Moreover, you can't use it even if you've mastered it. You need a unique talent. Try it, Lu Zhengjun said. If you can't, change to another sword technique. This sword technique is really good. Chu Li nodded. There's no need to change. I can cultivate it. That's good. Lu Zhengjun shook his head. It's a pity that I've never cultivated this sword technique before, so you'll have to figure it out yourself. However, I can spar with you to help you understand this sword technique. All right. Chu Li nodded. After practicing for 2 days, he was able to perform it when he sparred with Lu Zhengjun. The great heaven-deriving sword technique was similar to the layout in a game of Go, where every move would force one's opponent to follow one's own path. By the time one's opponent could react, one would already be in a desperate situation and would not be able to escape. The great heaven-deriving sword technique was similar as well. Usually, one strike after another would predict one's opponent's response, forcing one to follow a certain path and eventually lose. Chu Li had experienced the mystery of this sword technique and found a way to break it. He had to destroy with all his might, and every move was meant to perish together with his opponent. This was the only way to prevent himself from being led by the nose and to avoid falling into a hopeless situation step by step. When Lu Zhengjun exchanged blows with Chu Li, he had an illusion that he had turned into a flying insect that fell into a spider's web. He was entangled tighter and tighter until he could no longer move and was bitten. Therefore, if Lu Zhengjun did not want to end up in a situation where he could not struggle, he had to risk his life in the beginning and must not take the normal path. In the evening, after the two of them exchanged blows, Lu Zhengjun sheathed his sword and sighed. "All right, you can try challenging Zhao Qianxing now. I'll do it tomorrow." Chu Li smiled. For a period of time, Chu Li had been diligently cultivating his martial arts. In the eyes of outsiders, he had returned to the High Duke's public house to avoid the limelight of the Crown Prince's residence. The secret Guardian's Hall was still hot on his trail, and it was said that someone had reported Chu Li for colluding with the Holy Church of Light. Everyone knew that Chu Li and the Holy Church of Light were like fire and water. However, the secret Guardian's Hall used this to interrogate Chu Li and wanted him to explain clearly. The people from the secret Guardian's Hall had already followed them to the public house, but they were stopped outside the public house. Apart from the High Duke's public house, Chu Li's other identity, Zhao De, was also idling around in Gale City. He would occasionally show his face and continue his isolated cultivation. Fortunately, he was lucky that the Holy Church of Light did not have any missions, so he could still be carefree. At this time, he felt that he could not split himself into two. It seemed like the heavenly demonic power was not omnipotent. After all, one person could not be used as many as several people. Time was limited. He Shu and the other two had been watching the martial arts field. When they saw the improvement in Chu Li's swordsmanship and the fight with Lu Zhengjun, they were dumbfounded and felt inferior. Without even fighting, they knew that they were far from being Chu Li's match. The next morning, a tall and handsome young man slowly walked to the martial arts field. He glanced at everyone and said, "I'm Zhao Qianxing, an Inner Cliff disciple. I heard that Outer Cliff disciple Lu Guangdi wants to challenge you." Chu Li came out of the house and gave a fist salute. "I'm Lu Guangdi, and I want to enter the Inner Cliff." "All right," Zhao Qianxing said, "let's have a fight then." Chu Li asked, "If I defeat you, I can enter the Inner Cliff?" "Yes." Zhao Qianxing looked at him lazily and nodded. "Junior brother Lu, your inner energy cultivation level is quite high. I wonder how your martial arts are." Chu Li scoffed. "You'll know once you try." Then he thrust his sword at Zhao Qianxing, forcing him to draw his sword. Chu Li performed the great heaven-deriving sword technique, one move after another, leaving Zhao Qianxing with no choice but to counter each move. Gradually, he was at a disadvantage. Zhao Qianxing was surprised. He did not expect an Outer Cliff disciple to have such an exquisite sword technique. He gradually felt that he was no match for Chu Li. If this went on, he would be defeated, and his reputation would be ruined. With this thought in mind, he began to change his technique. His body suddenly became as light as a feather and moved with the wind. Whenever the tip of Chu Li's sword approached, there would be a gust of wind, and his body would retreat along with the tip of Chu Li's sword. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.